Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is Open Mic. What is Open Mic? Well, on the John Campea Show every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we save a little bit of time to take some live questions, but here on the weekends on Open Mic, that's all we do, just all open forum, live questions, whatever it is you guys want to talk about in the realms of our favorite things in the world, movies, movie news, some television, a few other things here and there too. Had a great weekend so far. The weekend is not yet over. I got to go see, yesterday was great. Ann and I went on a big hike with the dog. We're dog sitting Grizzly. Then we went to go see Shazam with a bunch of friends, and we had a whole bunch of people over last night to watch the UFC fights. What a great fights those were last night. Anyway, whole bunch of good stuff. So listen, let's not waste any time. We got a lot of questions already lined up here today, so let's dive right into it. And we're going to get things started here with John Demoto, who writes, "Happy Sunday, John." Thank you so much, John. Captain Marvel will be around 915 million worldwide after this weekend. Do you think it can pass Wonder Woman or be the highest grossing female lead superhero film domestically? Oh, domestically? I don't know. Wonder Woman did pretty damn good domestically. Because it's already passed. Captain Marvel has already passed Wonder Woman worldwide. At $910 plus million, it's already passed Wonder Woman worldwide. But how does it compare domestically? So Wonder Woman domestically did 412. I think Captain Marvel's around 315 right now, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on a second. Captain Marvel right now domestically is sitting at 321. Can it pass Wonder Woman domestically? I don't know. Like, it made 35 million this weekend. It would need to make, just under about 95 million more. I think that's unlikely. I think Wonder Woman is going to end up having the bigger box office just domestically, for sure. Well, maybe not for sure, but I think it's likely that Wonder Woman will hold on to that. But like I said, the important number, which is the worldwide number, the overall worldwide total, Captain Marvel's already passed it. At 910 now, Wonder Woman was at 830 something, I want to say. What was Wonder Woman worldwide? Hold on a second. Let me just pull that up. Worldwide was 821. So Captain Marvel's already almost passed it by 100 million bucks, so there's that. But will it catch it just domestically? I don't know about that. It could theoretically, but I don't think so. Anyway, Joseph A. Reinhard writes, "The good Canadian kid, the Olympic gold medalist, and the one, the only. Love the podcast, guys. Also, Robin's Genie or Tom Hanks's Woody. Who's better?" Ooh. Well, first of all, thank you for the tip of the hat to the podcast. We are thrilled doing the podcast. We're actually going to record our third episode of the podcast of Best Movie, Worst Movie. Me, Cody, Rob, we're recording our third episode tomorrow. Make sure you guys find Best Movie, Worst Movie on your favorite podcast app. Subscribe, rate, comment, all that kind of good stuff. Well, I mean, look, it's difficult to compare the two because Robin Williams' Genie was meant by design to be kind of like an over-the-top caricature, right? Woody is, by definition, the character Woody's a very different kind of character. Not to mention, we've had 3 movies with Tom Hanks's Woody. I just don't think you can do a what's better because they're two completely different things. They're two radically different things. Like, could I do 3 movies in a row of Robin Williams' Genie? I don't know. See, part of the thing about the brilliance of Genie was he was such an over-the-top caricature of a film that those types of characters are good in certain doses. Could I watch 3 movies of that? I don't know. There's no denying of Robin Williams' Genie's brilliance. It's a fantastic, one of the greatest animated characters of all time. But could I have done 3 movies of that character? Again, I'm not saying yes or no. I'm saying I don't know. Woody, on the other hand, is a totally different kind of character. You can watch 18 movies of that character. So I really, they're so radically different. I can't, it's like saying, what's better, your cell phone or your car? Well, I mean, it depends on what it is you need at that particular moment, right? So I got to take a pass on that. Just because they're two such radically different things. O+98 writes, reports saying Flash directors might leave. Thoughts? Well, there's no real report out that says that. What all that stems from was a report in, I think it was Deadline, that said that Ezra Miller and the two guys who are directing The Flash have been at odds over the tone of the movie. Now Ezra Miller's writing his own version of the script, which I think is idiotic. I think is beyond idiotic. You've got the directors, they're the directors. If they say the movie goes a certain way, the movie goes a certain way, and you're the actor, you just shut up and do your job. Anyway, that's my opinion. And it sounds like from that same report that Warner Brothers is said to prefer the director's vision. So why is this an issue? Look, I love Ezra Miller, and I love his version of The Flash. I really do. I'm a big fan of Ezra Miller. But if he doesn't want to do the movie that the directors want to do and Warner Brothers wants to do, bye. There's 1,000 other actors lined up outside Warner Brothers who would love to play The Flash. And I love Ezra Miller's The Flash. Big fan. Big fan. But if he doesn't want to do it, bye. Bye-bye. Because there's 1,000 other guys willing to do it. And, I just saw Shazam. And listen, I'm telling you, after watching Aquaman, now Shazam, Warner Brothers is heading in the right direction. They very much are heading in the right direction with their DC universe now. So, I just think the whole situation is ridiculous, to be honest with you. Anyway, Artur Mansouri writes, "Hey, John, I was at the screening for Shazam at the AMC Burbank 16 yesterday at 7 o'clock. I was at the 4 o'clock one, and Zach Levi showed up after. It was amazing. Movie is my number one DCU film." Yeah, I was so upset I found out about that because I was in that exact theater, and I watched the 4 p.m. screening, and then later on, we're watching the UFC fights, and Ann pulls up on, she sees on the internet that Zach Levi showed up for the 7 p.m. screening. Oh, well. But I'm glad. It's still not my number one DCU film. To me, Man of Steel is still that. But then again, you guys know how special Man of Steel is to me. I think it's a masterpiece of the genre. I think it is a top 10 comic book movie of all time. But I'll tell you what, it's now my second favorite DCU film. And I like Wonder Woman very much. I liked Aquaman very much. I like Justice League and Batman vs. Superman. But yeah, Captain Marvel is now my number 2 favorite DCU film. Dim-Sum05 writes, "Had 2 huge geek out moments in Shazam, but was that a certain Smallville TV show person I saw? Hope that isn't a spoiler." Oh, yes, that was. And we won't say who it is, but yes, absolutely that was. Absolutely that was. And that was kind of fun to see. I had several big geek out moments in Shazam, and it's hard not to give away any spoilers because I want to do our spoiler discussion of Shazam right now. I want to do it so bad, but not enough of you guys have had a chance to see it, so we're going to wait till after the beginning of April when the movie has played and everybody's had a chance to see it. We'll do it, but man, Dim Sum, I want to talk about this movie so bad. But I want to talk it so bad. Anyway, Chris Hamilton writes, "My pick for most underrated trilogy is the Kung Fu Panda movies. Jack Black is entertaining and hilarious. What do you think of the series, John?" I think it's very good. I'm not thrilled with number 3, but I really enjoyed number 1, and I loved number 2. I thought the first 2 were great. I think the third one's okay. But it's certainly not like really good or anything like that, in my opinion, at any rate. But yeah, it's one of those franchises to me that caught me a lot by surprise because you didn't go into Kung Fu Panda expecting anything good. I mean, let's be honest. You don't go into a movie called Kung Fu Panda expecting something to be good. Anything other than just drivel, just target this at the 5-year-olds and have bright colors and go poop jokes and make the kiddies laugh and it'll be fine. I thought Kung Fu Panda was, both 1 and 2 were smart and they had good heart and the action in them are surprisingly great. I love Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2. But because I think the third one is kind of the weak link, I don't know that I would call it like the most underrated trilogy. To me, the most underrated trilogy is Toy Story. Nobody underestimates the Toy Story movies, but when you're talking great trilogies, a lot of people don't think Toy Story. So I think the trilogy as a trilogy is highly underrated. But anyway, there's that. But yeah, I really like the first 2 ones very much. KW Garrett 83 writes, "Secret to objectively rating film quality. Nanotech." Yep. If you got enough nanotech, then it is objectively good. If you can measure the amount of nanotech, then you're okay. Well said, Garrett. All right. Akeem writes, "I was watching Infinity War last night when I suddenly thought to myself, how is Itiri ever going to use the restroom again with his hand like that? The poor guy. The poor guy. Your hands belong to me now. Now they're this. Your power isn't in your hands. It's in here. Anyway, that poor guy. I mean, really, that was we're talking about underrated things. To me, that was an underrated moment of Infinity War. That is a tragic moment. And for anybody who has any doubts that Thanos is just a pure villain, a homicidal, evil maniac. But John, he thought he was going to... Every villain thinks they're the good guy in their own story. But if you wanted any more proof that Thanos is just a villainous, homicidal, evil maniac, then the story of Peter Dinklage's dwarf puts it to rest. You know, he told me that if I did what he want, he would spare us, and he killed everyone anyway. He didn't kill half of them, he killed them all, despite the fact that he made that gauntlet for him, and he killed them all anyway. There's nothing good or noble or anything about that. That was just evil. And one of the more tragic things in Infinity War, we don't talk enough about that scene. I'm guilty of that too. IDK a name writes, saw Shazam last night, easily beats Captain Marvel in my opinion. I don't think so, not easily. I will say this, I did prefer Shazam. Like, I think they're both really good. I think they're both very good. Captain Marvel is really, really good. But, I gotta say, if I had the choice tonight to just run out and see Captain Marvel again, or run out to see Shazam right now, I'm probably run out to see Shazam right now. Not by a lot, but just by a hair. I'll give the nod to Shazam. I did like it more. But Captain Marvel, that does not undermine how really good I think Captain Marvel is. It's a really good, entertaining, wonderful film. But Shazam was all of that and just a little bit more to me. I think I prefer Shazam over Captain Marvel. And that's great. I love the fact that I've got two comic book movies in theaters right now that I can run to the Burbank 16 right now and see either of them and have a great time at either. But that's how much I liked Shazam. I think I liked it a little bit more than Captain Marvel. Jack Leo writes, let's see here. Zach also came to my showing at Century City. Wow, such a treat. Love the movie. I think these high Rotten Tomato scores will really help generate buzz. It's not just, well, the high Rotten Tomato scores, yes, which by the way, where is it? That reminds me, I have to put up my score on Rotten Tomatoes. I haven't put my score on Rotten Tomatoes yet. Shazam, Rotten Tomatoes. What is it at? Last time I saw it was at 95. I'm sure it's come down a little bit. Yep, 94. It's sitting at 94% right now. Outstanding. Guys, it's such a fun movie. But look, I put up my review. You can go watch my review. It's on my YouTube channel right now. It's not the best beginning. I'll be honest. The first 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, this is kind of like bad, cheesy 90s comic book movie filmmaking right now. And I'm like, oh, I hope it gets better than this. But it does. It does get better than that real quick. So just keep in mind, when you go to see it, if the movie starts off and you're like, this is the movie everybody's raving about, just remember that I told you it starts slow. Not so much slow, but starts not great. It doesn't have a great start. And just understand that going into it. But believe me, when I say just hang in there for a few minutes, because it picks up and then it becomes really great. And yes, I think the whole reason they did these early screenings was to generate lots of word of mouth. The Rotten Tomatoes score is certainly going to help the buzz. This is a film, I'm telling you what, I told you before, I will say it again. When they put out that tracking number of 45 million for opening weekend, I said that's low. It's going to be more than that. Like, I don't know if it's going to be $100 million opening or not, but it's going to be more than 45. And with this type of buzz and the response people and the word of mouth that's going to get out, it's going to blow by that 45 million mark. I guarantee it. All right. Let's see here. Adam Martinez writes, DC has apparently started paying critics. I know, right? All you guys just said, oh, well, if critics give Marvel a good score, that means they're paying them. It's got 94 they just gave 94 to Shazam. I guess that means they're Warner Brothers. Everybody's paying critics. Everybody's paying critics. Oh my God, it's one of the most idiotic things ever, isn't it? I mean, you got to be a real special kind of stupid. I'm sorry, this isn't a subjective thing. This isn't an opinion thing. If you actually believe studios are paying critics, you are a special kind of stupid, because they don't. They just don't. And if you, I know there's some people who are so desperate to find excuses for why people like films they don't. They're willing to believe the most idiotic, moronic, completely illogical fantasies like, oh, the studio's paying critics. Oh, I understand some people are so desperate to make excuses for why others like things that they don't, that sometimes they'd be willing to embrace the moronic. But even this is way too much. That's way too much. Just grow a pair and accept that sometimes people like movies that you don't. And that means, hey, look, I don't like the original Blade Runner. I know that's not cool. I know that makes me the odd man out. I know that puts me in the minority, and I accept that. But I acknowledge everybody else loves it, and that's great. Just because everybody else loves it doesn't affect my opinion. But yeah, it is one of the great streaks of idiocy in film fandom today is that there's even anybody that believes something as moronically stupid as studios pay critics, because I guess they're all doing it now because Shazam's got a 94. Well said, Adam. All right, Dominic Francis writes, loved listening to the podcast as I roamed about on Red Dead Redemption 2. Totally agree that Captain America First Avenger doesn't get the attention it deserves. Yeah, on Best Movie, Worst Movie, I didn't say Captain America First Avenger was my best Marvel movie, but I said I think it's, aside from Thor, it's probably the next most underrated MCU film. For whatever reason, a lot of people rank First Avenger very low. I love that movie. I think it's a fantastic origin movie, for maybe the best pure origin film in the MCU. The way it tells its story of his origins and all that kind of stuff, I think it's wonderful. And thank you very much, Dominic, for listening to our podcast. We appreciate that, man. Okay, ZMG Ruler writes, will you be doing a Shazam spoiler discussion? Absolutely. Absolutely. The Sunday after it opens. I'm not going to do one now because only a very few amount of people had a chance to see it in the screenings yesterday. So I'm going to wait for it to open, and then like 2 days. When does it open again? I think it opens on like April 4th or something like that. Hold on a second. Let me just double check this. When does it open? Double checking. Shazam. It opens on April 5th. Okay. So the 6th would be the Saturday, the 7th would be the Sunday. So I'm guessing right now, Mark, pen it in, guys. We're going to be doing our Shazam spoiler discussion on April 7th. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm very excited to talk about that movie with you guys. Curtis Lopez writes, saw Shazam last night and it was great. Zachary Levi even showed up at the screening. Yeah. I'm hearing everybody. Why didn't he come to my 4 o'clock screening? What's wrong with people who go to the afternoons movies, Zach, huh? Why do you hate people who go to movies in the afternoon, Zach? That's what I want to know. Why do you hate us so much? Anyway, I'm still a little bitter. Let's see. Aiden Foley writes, do you think Spider-Man Far From Home could regard Uncle Ben? Well, in regard Uncle Ben, do you mean like reference Uncle Ben? Probably. I mean, we already see the suitcase, right? Like, and didn't the suitcase he have Uncle Ben's initials on it? Wasn't it BP? Wasn't it Ben Parker? So I think it's highly likely. I think the chances are very, very good that we'll get some sort of reference to Uncle Ben. I don't know that we're going to see Uncle Ben, but at least I think there's a pretty good chance we'll get a reference to him. Let's see. Fred writes, I adored Shazam. Amazing. Mark Strong killed. I loved Mark Strong in it. Because, that villain could have very easily been a and he is that to a little bit of an extent, but there's also humor to the character, and there's a menacing nature to him that worked really well. And I thought he played well off of Zachary Levi as well, but it's Mark Strong. Mark Strong always brings it. Even if he's in a terrible movie, Mark Strong brings it. Even in Green Lantern, Mark Strong brings it. You can take it to the bank. If you put Mark Strong in a movie, he will deliver a great performance. That's just what Mark Strong does. Ryan Lohner writes, Have you seen John Ottman's statement on the bad editing the studio forced him to do on Bohemian Rhapsody? Nope. Don't care. I don't really care a lot about that behind the scene thing. Bad editing the studio forced him to do, I don't know. Bohemian Rhapsody was edited pretty damn well in my opinion. So no, I have not seen any statement. Don't really care. Rufino Salazar Jr. writes, "Hey John, the wife and I are going with friends to see West Side Story on Broadway, and we don't know anything about it. So my question is, should we watch the movie, go in blind? Did you enjoy the movie?" Oh, like the original? Oh yeah, I mean, here's the thing about West Side Story today. And of course, Steven Spielberg's working on a new rendition of West Side Story as well. It's fantastic, but it also, in some ways, in today's day and age, it doesn't age all that well. In the sense of, watching a gang of white boys in the street of New York, dancing in the streets going, yeah, you wouldn't survive very long. I mean, there's a little bit of that, so there's a little bit of an era factor involved. I would say this. I would say if you're already planning, if you were just to ask me, should I watch West Side Story? I would say yes, absolutely you should watch West Side Story. If you're got plans to go to the Broadway show, though, yeah, I'd say get that under your belt first. Go watch the show, then watch the movie. That would be my recommendation, at least. And I've never had a chance to see the Broadway show of it. I've never had a chance to see a live stage version of West Side Story. So, but my thought would be, yeah, if you've already got tickets and plans to go see the show, and that does sound like a fun night out, Rufino, go see that first. Then once you've got it, then go and watch the original. And then go watch Spielberg's version when it comes out. Ryan writes, he deserved that Oscar for just making anything coherent out of that production. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that. For everything I heard, the production was actually pretty good. But, I mean, look, one of the things I've learned about Hollywood stories is that there are always, in any Hollywood story, there are always multiple points of view. And the story being told from one point of view can look one way, and then the story being told from another person's point of view could look very, very different. So I would say try never to get wrapped up too much in one point of view that's given on a Hollywood behind-the-scenes story. Because usually it's through several different shaded colors of glasses that you get it. So, yeah, there's that. I'll just leave it at that, I guess. Magic K writes, saw Shazam yesterday. Fantastic movie. Unfortunately, the cinema staff in the theater I went to were dumb. They turned on the light when the movie was not yet finished. Oh, that's too bad. I've had that happen before. Now granted, out of the thousands of times I've been to the movie theaters, it's a very, very, very small percentage of times it happens. Movie theater staff are usually right on the ball. But it has happened. I've been to a couple screenings where the lights didn't get turned down in time. Like the movie was like 30 seconds in the movie before they finally turned the lights down in the theater. And I've been there a couple times where the lights came up really before the movie's done. And a lot of times now, I think that's automated. In a lot of movie theaters, that's automated. So, I mean, somebody programmed it incorrectly, right? But I know exactly what it is you're talking about, Magic. We can't talk about it, but I know exactly what you're talking about in reference to what was going on in the movie, probably when your lights came up. But we'll stay very quiet about that. That is unfortunate. I mean, look, at the end of the day, though, is the lights coming up that big of a deal at the end of the day? Like, it's nowhere near as bad as the sound went out. Okay, well, now I don't know what's going on in the movie. Or the picture went out. Or the picture got all blurry. Or so. That ruins your enjoyment of the film. But if you're sitting there in the theater and the lights come up, you can still see what's going on screen. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And I've had it happen to me too. And it's not good. But in the grand scheme of things, I think you would agree, Magic, there are probably worse things that could have happened that would really ruin the experience, right? But, yeah. Look, I will say this is no spoiler. Everybody talking about Shazam. 2 post-credit scenes. Stay for both. Koa, 1708 writes, Jaimon Hansu has been in a lot of comic book films. Yep, I mean, so he was in, there's probably more, but he was in Guardians. He was in Aquaman. He was in Captain Marvel. He's in Shazam now. Yep, he's just always popping up. He's got feet in Marvel and in DC. He's got ongoing. He's got 2 comic book movies in theaters right now. One for Marvel, one for DC. Djimon Hounsou is the great ambassador. He's the great ambassador. He is in theaters right now in Captain Marvel, and he's in theaters right now in Shazam. Well, I mean, right now. It aired yesterday, but it's not coming out for another 2 weeks. Djimon Hounsou is the great bridge divider, or the great bridge builder. Guy Volt writes, Wonder Boy got knocked out cold. Never been done before. Yep, first time he's ever been knocked out. I'm telling you that. And that was an impressive shot because here's the thing. Anthony Pettis ate a really good kick to the bottom of his ribs. And it hurt. And it knocked him back. And he thinks so fast in that split second, you expect him to be hit back into the cage and then crumple a little bit to defend, right? But instead, he started to crumple a bit and then exploded off the cage. Like he almost used his butt as leverage against the cage. Flung him forward, came in. Wasn't quite a Superman punch because Superman punches are generally straight down the middle. If he had a little bit of a hook to it, caught him right on the chin, put Wonder Boy out. You know, it's too bad because Wonder Boy, he is one of the best fighters in the welterweight division. He's one of the best and most entertaining fighters to watch in the UFC. But he's lost 4 out of his last 5. Now, granted, those losses came in 2 back-to-back title fights against Woodley. One against the number 1 contender, Till, and now this one to Pettis. And he was winning that fight. Wonder Boy was definitively winning that fight. And out of nowhere, Pettis pulled off this great technique. Landed it square. Poor Wonder Boy, man. Poor Wonder Boy. I hope he doesn't start thinking retirement because he's great. I love watching this guy fight. I want to see him fight more. All right. Murray Reich writes, do you think they will have early Thursday screenings for Endgame? Like earlier than normal, 7 p.m.? Because otherwise I won't see it till Sunday because of the holiday. I don't know that they can go much earlier than that. I think sometimes there's 6 p.m. screenings, but I don't know that they can go earlier than that. So, yeah, they could go earlier than 7, but if it is, I think earliest is going to be 6. Earliest is going to be 6, so plan on that. Kylo Ren and Stimpy writes, my guilty pleasure films are Jingle All the Way and Ernest Goes to Jail. I get a good laugh whenever I watch those films. Well, that's the beautiful thing, right, about guilty pleasure movies. Guilty pleasure movies are movies that a lot of people think are terrible. But to you, for whatever reason, they have a special, special place for you. For me, you know, Armageddon. Everybody hates Armageddon. It's a guilty pleasure movie of mine. I really, really like Armageddon. Vanilla Ice is Cool as Ice. It's one of the worst movies ever made, but I love watching that movie for all the wrong reasons. But I love watching that movie. But yeah, man, and Jingle All the Way and Ernest Goes to Jail, those are great fertile ground for being guilty pleasure movies. So I respect your choice, Kylo. I respect your choice. All right. Murray Reich writes, also, will the Endgame spoiler discussion still go on if it's 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time? My chance of seeing it is Sunday night. No, I got to tell you, Murray, when we do the Avengers Endgame spoiler review, it is not going to start at 10 p.m. Eastern because I already know that one is probably going to go 5, 6, 7 hours. I already know that Avengers Endgame spoiler discussion video is going to go 5, 6, 7 hours, maybe more. I can't start that at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You know, that takes me to 2, 3 in the morning. I can't do that. So, yeah. I mean, Sunday is about as late as I can push it. I might start it as late as 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that would be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but I just can't do it. I can't start it that late. I can't start that late. Now, one of the things I will say, though, Murray, is there's probably a pretty good chance it's still going to be going on. Like, I'll probably start it at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but chances are it's still going to be going on by the time you get home from the movie. There's probably a good chance we'll only be halfway through by the time you get home from the movie. That's going to be a long one. Me and Robert's going to do that one with me. It's going to be me and Robert both doing it. We might get a third person, as a matter of fact, to join us to save our voices a little bit. But we're fully ready. This could be 8 hours. It could be 9 hours. I mean, I don't know. But I cannot start it that late. I just can't start it that late. All right. Ronald Crisoto writes, thoughts on Alejandro Inarritu's films? My favorites are Birdman and Babel. He once said he was offered Star Wars. I'd love to see more of him soon. He's wonderful. He's wonderful. I think he's just fabulous. My favorite of his is actually The Revenant. That, to me, was a masterclass in filmmaking. Birdman's great. Absolutely. But The Revenant is all direction. It is, like I said, to me, it's a masterclass in filmmaking. It's magnificent. I believe it won Best Picture. It got Leonardo DiCaprio his first Oscar. That took that movie to finally get Leonardo DiCaprio's first Oscar under the direction of Inarritu. So yeah, I'm going to go. He's fantastic. He's wonderful. I'm going to go with The Revenant on that. Murray Wright writes, Supernatural to end after season 15. I know. I saw the news. I can't feel too bad about that. How many people get their favorite show to last more than 10 seasons? More than 11 seasons, more than 12 seasons, more than 13. I'm getting Supernatural for 15 seasons. It's got to end eventually. All good things come to an end. And I'm going to miss it, though. I can't even imagine my life when I wasn't looking forward every week to watching a new episode of The Winchester Boys. And that's going to come to an end after next season. James Welsh writes, thoughts on Dora the Explorer trailer? I'll tell you right up, I still haven't watched it. I know it came out, and I still haven't watched it. So I'm sure we'll talk about it on the John Campea Show tomorrow, but as of right now, I still haven't had a chance to watch it. Okay. Apex Caliber writes, Magneto youth spell in MCU Pro... No, Apex, look, my brother, you've asked me about 8 different ways to manipulate age. And I said no, and I'm not changing my tone here. It's a bad idea, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's a bad idea. But spells... Just change his backstory. Change his backstory to fit the Magneto narrative and change the age. Start it for this age. It's the simplest approach. It's the best approach. It's the only approach, in my opinion. So no, you spell terrible idea. I think it's a terrible idea, my brother. Jay Bling writes, John Wick 3 speculation. Winston is revealed to be John's father-in-law. It would explain how John met Helen and why Winston gave John a marker. You could, but why does everybody have to be related to everybody else in movies? Like, why does Rey have to be Luke's granddaughter or Luke's kid? Or why can't, he be helping John Wick just because John Wick is beloved in that community? Why not that? Why not because of their history instead of their history? I mean, now what you're proposing, though, it doesn't contradict really anything that I can think about within the canon of John Wick. So that could work, Jay Bling. That could work. Again, I just don't like the idea of everybody's got to be related to everybody else. So I'm going to hope they don't do that. But it wouldn't be a terrible idea because it doesn't contradict anything. All right. Dan O'Clock writes, just announced Hugh Jackman, Ryan Gosling, Jake Gyllenhaal added to the cast of Dune. Wouldn't that be funny? Just kidding. Which they previously all worked with Villeneuve. Yeah, Denise, very quietly, in a very short number of films, has worked with some really impressive talent. In a relatively short window of time, he's gone on to work with a really impressive list of talent that, oh my God, if you could bring them all into one movie, that would be something, Dan O'Clock. And who is not excited for Dune at this place? They're shooting the movie now. It's happening. I cannot wait. All right, Apex writes, by the way, John, sent you the email on Zach Levi / Brie Larson. Oh, thank you for that. I haven't checked my John at the JohnCampeaShow.com email over the weekend. I generally don't check that email over the weekend, but I'm sure I will see it once I go there. Thank you for sending that to me. I'm very curious to see that. Rodney Alexander writes, hey, John, over under 15%, Jordan Peele casts another actor from Black Panther in his next film. Well, I mean, what is the name of the guy? I keep forgetting his name. The guy from Get Out. Daniel Kaluuya? I always mispronounce his name. Anyway, that's a little bit of a cheat because he was in Get Out and then he was in Black Panther. But he was in Black Panther, so I wouldn't doubt if he goes back and uses him again. Why not? I mean, look, in Hollywood, directors like working with the same actors if they had good experiences with them, so why not that? So I'll take over 15% on that, Rodney. I'll take over the 15%. All right, Apex writes, what if the Tony / Steve scene is when they end up separated from the team during the time travel, would it be more intense that way? What if the Tony Steve scene is when they end up separated from the team during the time travel? What if the Tony Steve scene is when they end up separated from the team during the time travel? I have no idea what we're talking about, Apex. Sorry about that, man. John Sava writes, over under 20%, we get a Nova post-credit scene in Endgame. I'm going to take under 20%. If there's going to be anything Nova, they're going to save that probably for James Gunn. Apex writes, Defenders go to Hulu with new season rated TVMA. Nope, I don't think, no. I think it's becoming more and more clear Disney is not reviving those characters. If anything, they'll be rebooted into something else, but you're not going to see the Defenders that we saw on Netflix just reappear as they were, only now on Hulu or something else. So it's looking more and more likely that that's not going to happen. So I'm probably pretty unlikely, which sucks because that means Daredevil truly is done. But let's see what they have in mind as they move forward. Ryan Lohner writes, look up the Alien stage play by North Bergen High School. Amazing stuff, no budget. Okay. An Alien stage play by a high school. I'm not going to lie to you, Ryan. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'll go look that up when I'm not going to look that up. I'm probably not going to go look that up. But but thank you for putting that on everybody else's radar, though. Okay. Green Arrow 7 writes, will Amber Heard be in Aquaman 2 with all the controversy? Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. James Wan loved working with her. And that's the only important thing that counts. I mean, Jason Momoa loved working with her. And she's a girl who's in a legal battle with her ex-husband. It's a he said, she said kind of situation. So, yeah, they're going to use Amber Heard in Aquaman 2. I very, very low. I mean, nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. So, of course, there's a possibility she might not. Hell, there's a possibility Jason Momoa might not be in Aquaman 2, I guess, if we're talking possibilities. That's possible, I suppose. But, now, if I had to put $100 on it, I would bet that Amber Heard will be in Aquaman 2. Apex Cowboy writes, Cinema Blend has a contest to watch all MCU films. Really? Cinema Blend does? I did not know that. I'll have to check that out. Topher Rocks writes, do you think Netflix shows would benefit from being weekly opposed to dropping all at once? I feel like the talk dies out pretty quick with all that at once. I've been talking about that a lot recently, Topher Rocks, that is something that Netflix is looking at. Because you look at something like Game of Thrones. Now look, as a binge watcher that I am, I love that Netflix just drops entire seasons at once. I love it. But there is a big drawback to that. You know, there are shows that week after week after week, like take Game of Thrones. One episode drops. Everybody talks about it. Then maybe more people join in the show. Then next week, there's another new episode. Everybody talks again and brings in some more people. Then the next week, there's another new episode and everybody gets talking. Punisher Season 2 drops, everybody talks about it, and then everybody stops talking about it. Done. There's no elongated campaign of building momentum over weeks and weeks and weeks as each new episode drops and blah, blah, blah. And I think that is a problem that Netflix has discovered, that if they don't get somebody to watch that show within X number of weeks that it drops, they're likely not to watch the show. Whereas with the week after week after week show, like traditional cable, if somebody doesn't watch a show right now, they may still watch it later once, because take the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. A lot of people got more and more into that as it went, but it's the week after week model that kind of could have made it better. And I know Netflix is talking right now about experimenting with that model. And there's even talks right now that they're going to take first step by dropping the first half of the new season of Lucifer, and then later dropping the second half of the new season of Lucifer. But I think within the next 2 years, you're going to see Netflix experimenting with dropping weekly episodes as opposed to dropping all of them at once. It may help them. It may help them. Now, again, for somebody like me that I love binge watching, drop it all at once, that's not great for me, but it might be what's best for the show. So we're going to see what happens, but they are going to experiment with it for sure. Okay. Rodney Alexander writes, watch Shazam, and granted, there were some funny parts, But this one lady was laughing like she was at a comedy show. Yes, it was funny at times, but really? What's your take on people overdoing it? Well, now time out, Rodney. What's overdoing it? We go to the movies to have a good time. And if somebody's there at a movie having such a good time, and to them the jokes are that funny and they're laughing, why is there something wrong with that? Why is there something wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. That's great. It gives me joy to see other people having fun at the movies. That's one of the reasons why I love going to the movies, is because it's not just me. I get to see other people having a good time, whether it's from scares or shock or deep thought, depending on the movie, or laughter if it's comedy, or, shrieks if it's horror, whatever. I love seeing people have a good time at a movie. And if to somebody the jokes are hitting funnier than they are to you, maybe you and me are underdoing it. Maybe the problem isn't that lady overdoing it. Maybe the problem is you and me underdoing it. But why, if you're seeing somebody having such joy in a movie that's meant to give joy, why would we look at that as a bad thing? It doesn't bother me in the least. Now, there are several behaviors in the theater that bother me. But somebody having an amazing time, that doesn't bother me. That doesn't bother me in the least. I think that's great. If anything, I'll sit there wishing, man, I wish I loved this movie as much as that lady does. I remember this one time. Me and John Schnepp, we went to go see, he and I we would go across the street and watch Star Wars The Force Awakens many times over lunch break. We'd just go over and start watching because we had our AMC cards at the time. And we would go over there and watch The Force Awakens over and over again. I will never forget this. One time we were in there watching it, and we were sitting right at the back. And we're sitting beside these three ladies around my mom's age that went. So, this was clearly like a demographic. They were watching Star Wars when they were, in their late teens or early 20s for the first time. And now they're here watching it back on the big screen again. Dudes, I cannot remember the last time I saw three ladies like this having that much fun in a movie. And they weren't like having conversations with each other, because that's no behavior in a theater. But it's like, oh my goodness, what's he doing? Ah! And the laughter and the cheering and the whatever. It was like, and me and Schnepp I remember we came out of that theater that one time and we talked about that might have been the best screening of The Force Awakens I've seen yet because of those ladies. Now, maybe some people might have found them distracting. Maybe. But they were just having a freaking awesome time. And I can't help but find that kind of joy contagious. And it made me just get into the movie more. So, yeah, man, I got to tell you, I love that. I love it. Now, sitting there having conversations with each other, making, being some people in the theater who think they're telling funny jokes, who think they're funnier than the movie, and goes, like yelling something out of the screen. I find that freaking annoying, all that kind of stuff. But people just having a good time and reacting. Because remember, movie going is an experiential thing. Movies are meant to deliver an experience. And when I'm in a movie theater, if I see somebody having a great experience, that just makes me happy. I got to say, it just makes me happy. So anyway, that's just my perspective on that, Rodney. That's just my perspective on that. Okay. Odile Jones writes, if Warner Brothers likes Ezra Miller's / Grant Morrison's Flash script, would they, 1, replace the directors, 2, try to keep them with the new script, 3, mesh both scripts? Well, here's the thing. Warner Brothers, this is the first big mistake they've made under Walter Hamada. They should never have allowed Ezra Miller to take a shot at writing the script. It's undermining the authority of the directors. You've just completely neutered the directors. The directors have already said they have a direction they want to go. The directors have a script that they like, a script that Warner Brothers likes, and they want to go that way. By publicly letting Ezra Miller write his own version of the script, you've just totally neutered the directors. It was a horrible decision on their part. Horrible decision on their part. And if for some reason if they ignore the great response that Shazam has, because Shazam should bury this Ezra Miller thing. But if they look at it and go, oh yeah, we prefer Ezra Miller's thing, well then the directors are going to leave. You don't have to let go of the directors. They're going to leave. Because they're like, look, if we're not the directors here, then why we're here? Like, if we're not going to make the movie we agreed to make, if we're not going to make the movie that we had a vision for and you said yes to, Warner Brothers, if we're not making that movie anymore, why are we here? We're not here so Ezra Miller can be our boss. And it's a stupid thing. It is a really idiot. And look, I am, you know me, I'm the big Glee Club guy. Walter Hamada era at the DC EU is going to be the greatest thing ever, blah, blah, blah. But this is everybody makes mistakes. Kevin Feige's made mistakes. This is Walter Hamada's first big mistake. Letting Ezra Miller do this is a phenomenal mistake. Because you've neutered the directors publicly. You've just made it look like more chaos on the set of The Flash. There is nothing good about this. It's just horrible. So if for whatever unknown reason Warner Brothers decides to ignore the positive response that Shazam's getting, the positive response that Aquaman got, and decided to ignore these guys who wrote Spider-Man Homecoming and directed Game Night, so Ezra Miller, who's never written shit, can write because he wants Flash to be different? Who the fuck cares what Ezra Miller wants? He's the actor. I don't know. It's really infuriating to me. They should just, I'm telling you, I love Ezra Miller's Flash. I love him as Flash. And I'm telling you what, the exact thing that Warner Brothers should have done as soon as, if Ezra Miller came and said, I don't want to make that movie they're making, let me write my own script. And I'm not saying that's what happened. But I'm saying if that's what happened, if I'm Warner Brothers, I'm just going, okay, bye-bye. Bye, Ezra. Don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out. Don't worry about us. We got 1,000 other guys lining up, talented actors who can't wait to play the Flash in the Flash that we want to make. Bye-bye. Anyway, it's a stupid, stupid, idiotic thing. That they're even entertaining it is idiotic. Curtis Lopez writes, with fantastic word of mouth, box office opening predictions for Shazam, I say 75 to 80. I'm going to go... Well, I'll say right now, the initial tracking of 45, that's going to get blown out the window. And you're going to see new tracking numbers come out as a result of the word of mouth and the critical buzz. I think 75 is a good number. I think 75 is a good number. I thought that 45 before was way low. I'm especially convinced of that now. I'm going to go 75. I think that's a good number, Curtis. Okay. Apex writes, as expected, trolls are trying to divide people on Shazam / Captain Marvel, the real Captain Marvel, Captain Marv, her. John, will they ever grow up? Trolls seem traumatized by Brie. Yeah, I know. It's pathetic. And it's so bad now. It's so bad. They tried convincing people Disney was buying their own tickets. That got disproven. They tried to convince people that this movie is going to be horrible. It's really good. They tried to convince people that no one was going to go see this movie. Everybody's going to go. Everybody's seen it. This movie's now crossed $900 million. So what are they left with now? Everything they've tried has gotten shot down. So now what do they got left? Try to say some other movie's better than this one. Okay, fine. Guess what? The Godfather is better than both of these movies. Captain America Civil War is better than both of these movies. Does that mean there's anything wrong with Shazam or Captain Marvel? No. Look, I'll tell you right now, I had a little bit better of a time with Shazam than Captain Marvel. But it doesn't take away from the fact that Captain Marvel was great. It is. And Shazam is great. And I even preferred Shazam a little bit. But it's just another pathetic attempt to try to save some face. It's just them trying to save some face. And fine, go ahead, save some face, do whatever. But hell, I mean, like, I think Shazam was a little bit better than Captain Marvel. But that doesn't take anything away from Captain Marvel at all. It just means we got two great comic book movies from the two dominant comic book movie producers, Marvel and Shazam. This should be a time that everybody who's into comic book movies should be celebrating and super happy, instead of acting like miserable little trolls and still trying to promote some kind of divided fan base. But hey, Apex, it is what it is. Rodney Alexander writes, as I take another sip here. Rodney Alexander writes, hey, John. Hello, Rodney. I love going to the movies, and one pet peeve is don't talk to me at all. My lady did while we were watching Shazam, and I asked her to be quiet, and she got mad. We can talk later. Does Anne do that to you? I mean, it depends what you mean by don't talk to me during the movie. Because, like, something that Anne does, and quite honestly, I do too, is 2 or 3 times during the movie, if something happens, a quick lean over and whisper in the ear so as not to bother anybody else around it, not going, hey, did you see that? No, but like lean over. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. Somebody, I'm not going to say what or who, some actor popped up in Shazam, right? And so I lean over and say, hey, that's the guy from so-and-so. And she's like, oh, yeah. And then at one point in the movie, Anne like leaned over, hey, is that the same thing that did this? And I'll just go, yeah, okay. 2 or 3 times during the movie, totally cool. Totally cool. Trying to decide how much to... I'm not going to throw him under the bus, but I'll say this. I've got somebody else that you may know. I've got somebody else that you guys may know who talks a lot during a movie, and that bothers me. Like 2 or 3 times, quick lean over to either point something out or mention something funny or whatever. Just little things like that. That's great. Nothing wrong with that at all. It's a shared experience. We're watching a movie together. I think that's great. But you and I both know, Rodney, people who take it beyond that and just want to chit-chat during a movie. And it's like, hey, I'll tell you what. How about you shut your fucking mouth? Huh? How about you shut up and we talk afterwards? But I can't say that because that's not a good thing for a friend to say. But maybe in my head, that's what I'm thinking a little bit. So a little bit for me, Rodney, not bad. A little bit, not bad. Can actually add to the experience a little bit, to be honest with you. But we all know when that line is crossed. And there is a line between, 2 or 3 times in a movie, lean over, whisper a little something, ask a little something. 2 or 3 times during the course of a 2-hour movie, no problem. That's great. But when it turns into conversations, and it turns into every 5 minutes they're leaning over, and it turns into that becomes distracting. Now I'm distracted from the movie. Now I'm just distracted from the movie. And I came here to watch and enjoy a movie. I came here to watch and enjoy a movie with you. So let's not distract ourselves from the movie that's playing on the screen. You and I both know there's a big difference between that. And that does drive me crazy too. That drives me crazy too. There are people in my life that I love going to the movies. There's nothing I enjoy more than going to the movies. And I love going to the movies with friends. But there are friends I've stopped going to the movies with. Just because I know they're going to talk too much during the movie. And I've just stopped going to movies with them. They're still my friends and I still love them dearly, but I've just stopped going to the movies with them because of that. I would recommend, though, Rodney, as a married man, I would recommend tweaking your tolerance level for your lady. I would recommend tweaking your tolerance level. Because some things are more important than the movie you're watching, right? So like if Anne, and she never has, but if Anne like superseded those 2 or 3 times and turned into 12 times, 20 times in the movie, I'll just keep that to myself. I'll probably just reel it in and just deal with it internally. Because there are some things that are more important than the movie that I'm watching. So as a married man, my friend Rodney, I would extend this advice to you. If it's with your lady, deal with it. Don't tell her to be quiet. Don't tell her to be quiet. Because that 2-hour movie you're watching is not as important as the next 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, whatever, that you got to be in a relationship together. That's got to take your priority, brother. That's got to take your priority. So I'd bite down, grin and bear it, and then just deal with it. That's probably my best thing to say. If it's somebody else, tell them to be quiet. If it's your lady, adjust your expectations a little bit and maybe just deal with it. So there's that. And by the way, thank you, Rodney. That's a really generous super chat. Thank you so much for sending that in. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for supporting the channel. Okay. Steven Mattern writes, Shazam was great. The audience definitely helps. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. Look, everybody says nobody likes this movie because I was in a theater and nobody clapped. Well, that's fine. That was your theater. A lot of other people were in theaters where they're standing ovations. Like, it depends. So you can never judge too much by the theater you were in. All I can tell you was my experience. My experience was the theater and the audience that I saw Shazam with was loving it. And you're right, man. That does help. It absolutely helps. IDK name writes, number 1, Aquaman. Number 2, Wonder Woman. Number 3, Shazam. Number 4, Man of Steel. Number 5, Justice League. Number 6, Batman vs. Superman. Number 7, Suicide Squad. Mine's very different. Mine is, obviously, number 1 is Superman, Man of Steel. That's a masterpiece of the genre. Top 10 comic book movie of all time. And then honestly, I put Shazam above Wonder Woman. I definitely put it above Aquaman. And you guys know I like Aquaman and I like Wonder Woman. You guys have seen me review these films. I like those movies a lot. But Shazam's better. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. AFC writes, have you seen Afterlife on Netflix? Great series. I have not. I've heard decent things about it, but I know I haven't checked it out yet, AFC. James Argenta writes, really like Shazam. A little slow in Act 1. Yeah, I agree. Some problem. And not all of Act 1. Just like the first half of Act 1. Maybe even just the first 10 to 12 minutes or so. It's a little not high quality filmmaking the first 10, 12, 15 minutes. But once you get past that, it becomes great. Anyway, let me finish reading your comment here, James. A little slow in Act 1. The movie got better once Zach showed up. The movie felt like a loving satire of the superhero genre to me. There was a little bit of that in there, wasn't it? There was a little bit of satire combined with a whole lot of heart, combined with a whole bunch of humor, combined with a little bit of excitement, combined with, you know, almost like a commentary on the superhero genre. The movie in and of itself is a little bit of a commentary, a humorous commentary on the superhero genre itself. That is a great way to look at it. I completely agree. Apex Cowboy writes, Captain Marvel, 910 million, over under 40%, 1 billion in 2 weeks from now. Yeah, even I got to say, the guy who doubted that Captain Marvel could get to $1 billion, yeah, within 2 weeks, it'll cross that $1 billion mark. Maybe even in 1 week. 1 week might be tough, but it's Captain Marvel is going to join the $1 billion club. I didn't think it would. I wasn't like ironclad guarantee it wouldn't. Not like I was with ironclad guarantee that Venom wouldn't make 800 and ironclad guarantee that Aquaman wouldn't hit 800. But I didn't think Captain Marvel would hit $1 billion, but it looks like it's going to. It looks like it's going to hit $1 billion. And yeah, I think it'll be within the next 2 weeks. Rodney Alexander writes, again, really generous super chat. Thank you so much, Rodney. Thank you for supporting the channel, man. I really appreciate it. And so do all the people that work for me here. I really appreciate that. Hey, John. Being that soon, pretty much everything will be digital. And one thing I always buy my movie ticket is through Fandango. My only gripe is, why are they charging a convenience fee to people for buying it through the app? How is that a convenience for me? All right, so I'm going to assume, Rodney, that you're talking about buying your movie ticket through Fandango, as opposed to buying movies through Fandango. Maybe you didn't specify, so I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about. So I'm going to go on the assumption, Rodney, that you're talking about buying your movie ticket through Fandango and they charge you a convenience fee. I understand the convenience fee because ultimately that's really how Fandango makes money. Fandango, that's how they make their money. Right? Otherwise, they're just setting it up for you to pay Regal Cinema your movie ticket. How does Fandango survive? Where does Fandango get their revenue from? So I understand the convenience fee. I'm also okay with a convenience fee if it's, number one, reasonable, and number two, actually provides me convenience. And look, because I'm an A-list member, I usually just use my AMC app to buy my movie tickets. But if I was I live a 10-minute walk from one of the greatest one of the greatest movie theaters in America, the AMC Burbank 16. I'm like a 10-minute, 12-minute walk from that theater. So clearly, I'm going to go to an AMC 99% of the time when I'm going to see my movies. But a lot of people have a bunch of movie theaters around them, and they're all, you know, bunch them within equal distance. They can go to an AMC or a Carmike or a Regal or whatever. Having something like Fandango is really damn convenient. Or an Atom Tickets Fandango, knowing that I can just go to one site and buy my ticket to whatever movie at whatever theater, and I can get it like that. That's a good convenience. That's a good service. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that service and that convenience. Is it worth $1.50 or whatever the convenience? If it's a reasonable price, yeah. The fact that I didn't have to hunt around for the movie theater's webpage and buy it through there and enter in my credit card information all again. Hey, I've got an account on Fandango. I can go to Fandango to buy any movie ticket for any movie at any theater, anytime. That's a convenience. Charge me $1.50 for it. No sweat off my brow. Or $1.99, whatever. However much it is, I'm not sure. If it's reasonable and if it provides convenience. Because I understand it's a business and Fandango needs to make money. How else are they going to stay in business? How else are they going to pay if they have no revenue, how else do they pay their employees, you know? So I get that. Now, while I'm saying that I understand the need to have a convenience fee, I understand you got to keep the prices reasonable, and I understand you're providing all that's true. You got to make sure that they're not taking it too far. Because, like, let's say I want to go, because what I'll often do is, if me and a big group of people are going, I'll just go and buy all the tickets myself, and then everybody will just pay me back for them. I mean, right? So I'll just go and buy the 9 tickets myself. I mean, are you going to charge me $2 for all 9 tickets? Really? Now I'm paying an extra $18? $18. You just charged me $18 to buy my tickets on your site instead of going to the other site. You charged me $18. Is $18 worth that convenience? No. I don't really know what the answer is because I don't use Atom tickets a lot. I don't use Fandango a lot. I do know that I've really appreciated that Atom tickets is there when I've needed to use them, and I've really appreciated that Fandango is there when I've needed to use them. And I'm okay with the service fee and blah, 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 but there's also got to be a way to make sure they reel it in and make sure that line of convenience to value maintains. Because I'm somebody who often buys 6 tickets, 7 tickets, 9 tickets for my group. And do I want to spend X number of dollars on a convenience fee? Now you're throwing that balance of convenience to value out of whack, and you got to be careful with that. So in principle, I'm good with it, but in execution, they've got to find a way to manage that. And again, I'm probably the wrong person, Rodney, to give an in-depth opinion because I don't use Atom tickets or Fandango all that much, just because I've got AMC right up the street from me. I'm sure if Ann and I ever move and I've got multiple theaters around me, I'll probably be using Atom tickets and Fandango a whole hell of a lot more. And then I'll really develop some opinions on it. But that's just kind of my opinion right there. So yeah, I guess it comes down to you, Rodney. Where is that balance for you of what is the right value for the convenience you're getting? And if that value to convenience balance goes out of whack, then at that point for you, you need to just find the theaters. You got to hunt down the individual theaters' website and just buy your tickets directly from them. If that convenience to value goes out of whack. So you got to make that decision for yourself, Rodney. And here's hoping this is a thing that just consistently evolves. Because I'm glad that companies like Fandango and Atom tickets are there, but they just got to maintain that value to convenience equilibrium. Because once it goes out, it becomes a turnoff. It becomes a total turnoff. Anyway, thank you again for that, Rodney. Okay, moving on here. Ben Hayusa writes, your review just made me even more hyped for Shazam. I got tickets for April 6th. Nice. So excited. Makes me want to say Shazam. Oh, dude, I love this movie. I love this movie. I'm telling you, Ann and I went out for breakfast this morning. That's what on the weekends, we go out and have breakfast together. And I remember the first thing we talked about when we sat down was, I'm just so pissed off right now. I got to wait 2 more weeks to go see Shazam again. Like, I wanted to book tickets to go see it again today, but we couldn't because it's not playing yet, which really, really sucks. But yeah, man, Ben, I think you're going to have... Look, like all movies, Shazam's not going to be for everybody. There are going to be some of you that go see Shazam that you don't like it, and that's totally cool. That's movie fandom. But I think a lot of you are going to like it. I really do. All right, Luke1234 writes, is Endgame the one in the 14,605 outcomes? I believe it is. But remember, time is malleable, right, in these movies. So just because Strange saw one, maybe it's something completely different. Maybe this is the 14,606th scenario that is playing out. I mean, I don't know for sure, but going into it, Luke, my assumption is this is that 1 out of 14 million. That's my guess. Whether that's true or not, we'll find out pretty soon. Ryan Lohner writes, 1 of 2. Some great movie tidbits on Masterclass. That's a really cool thing, by the way. My favorite so far is Ron Howard was researching for Cinderella Man and found a Popeye cartoon with the exact same story. He was quite dismayed to realize this meant the story was such a cliche. It was even being parodied back in the 1930s. I'll tell you what, I have never watched any of that Masterclass stuff. If you guys use Facebook, you've probably seen it advertised all over the place. But they have like Ron Howard teaching directing. what's his name? The guy who wrote West Wing. Hold on a second. Why am I freezing on his name? One of the greatest writers going today. Well, I'm looking at his face in my head right now. It was I gotta pull it up now. It is Aaron Sorkin. Why was I freezing on Aaron Sorkin's name? Anyway, Aaron Sorkin does one on screenwriting. Steve Martin does one on comedy. Daniel Negreanu, Kid Poker, does one on playing poker. I mean, this masterclass stuff is actually really cool. It's really cool, and I've been very, very tempted to check out a couple of them just for fun because they're getting the highest of high caliber talent to come in and teach master classes, these video classes on all these different disciplines. And when you're getting in people like a Ron Howard or an Aaron Sorkin or a Steve Martin or a Daniel Negreanu or whoever and whatever, I mean, it seems pretty cool. So I think that's pretty awesome, Ryan, that you're checking those out. And that sounds like pretty cool. By the way, I'm glad you brought up Cinderella Man. That is a horribly underappreciated film. Cinderella Man is an awesome movie. Pure awesome. That movie is fan-freaking-tastic. Russell Crowe should have gotten an Academy Award nomination for it. Everybody was great in it. It's a beautifully made film, wonderful story. You should check it out. So I appreciate that you brought that up, Ryan. Okay. Luke1234 writes, death of physical media in games will put GameStop out of business. Yeah, probably. Also, delivery services will lead to potential mall closures. Mall closures? What does that mean? Just a thought. Mall closures? What? Anyway. Yeah, but look, that's the evolution of technology and media, man. Look, I remember when I was 14 years old and I would go to Limeridge Mall in Hamilton, there were no less than 3 music shops. I don't mean guitar music, I mean CDs. There were no less than 3 music stores in Limeridge Mall. Everywhere you go, music stores, all over the place. HMV or whatever you used to call them. But guess what? Technology evolved, the industry evolved, and now you don't find music stores anywhere. Or at least very rare. They're very rare. Like even Amoeba Music, the iconic Amoeba Music in Hollywood, I believe, is shutting down. I mean, it's just the way it is. The technology evolves. The industry itself evolves. You know? There were companies that used to make rotary phones. Remember those? I remember when I was a little kid, we had the phone in the house. First of all, who even has a house phone anymore? But number 2 is we used to have the phones you used to have to dial a number. 3, 8, 7, 4, 3. I'm not going to give you the rest of my childhood phone number, but you dial. Guess what? There were companies that made those. Technology evolved and those companies went out of business. New technologies and technology companies arise and all that kind of stuff. Whenever an industry gets disrupted, it changes things. And yeah, there's going to be a point fairly soon, not all that distance of the future, that we are going to not have physical. Look, we just talked about the other day, Xbox now has a new Xbox coming out that is diskless. No disk drive in it whatsoever. Because you can a lot of people just get their games downloading them now. They buy them on the online store and just download it. Right? Now, Xbox is still going to make game systems with disc players, but not for long. Time's coming. And it's not about whether they should or shouldn't. It's about, do people buy physical media anymore? Everybody keeps trying to have these debate with me about whether physical media should die. That's not the question. It's not about whether or not physical media should die. It's that it is dying. It's not about should. It's what is happening. Whether it should or shouldn't is completely irrelevant. It is dying. 30% drop in Blu-ray disc sales in 2 years. Samsung, the #1 maker of Blu-ray players, getting out of the Blu-ray player business. Xbox introducing new models that are going to be cheaper because they don't have disc drives in them because a lot of people don't even need the discs anymore. And yeah, that's going to mean an industry disruption, which means there are going to be some types of businesses in the industry are going to get shut down, like a GameStop or something like that. And I like GameStop. I like going to GameStop. I'm not saying whether GameStop should or shouldn't shut down. I am just simply telling you the writing is on the wall. Those things are going away, just like the record stores went away. So, I mean, it's not something to keep in mind as a part of our decision-making process. This isn't our decision. It's happening. People don't buy physical media anymore. You may. That's great. A lot of people don't. And it's just going that way, man. It's just going that way. Ethan's Tech World writes, love Shazam, and I'm starting a podcast, and I'm starting the podcast I mentioned. That's great. I think more people should podcast. I think more people should make YouTube channels. I think we need more voices in the online film fan world. Doesn't matter if you have 5 listeners or 500 listeners. I think more people should add their voice to the conversation. I think that's great, Ethan. All right. Luke1234 writes, just started digital media collection with Vudu. Disc to digital, $2 per movie, and Movies Anywhere to link Vudu to Google Play. Yeah, there's a lot of options right now. I had a lot of people telling me, John, try Movies Anywhere, try Movies Anywhere. So I did, and I linked my Google Play movies and my Amazon, because I mostly use Google Play for my movies, but I have used, because I'm an Amazon Prime member, I have also bought a few movies on Amazon Prime because of sales or whatever, and it's pretty handy having Movies Anywhere where you can just collect all those movies they have in all the different services into one place. Gotta say, it is pretty handy. It's pretty handy. Not super vital, but pretty damn handy. Okay, let's move on here. And by the way, I think I've bought one movie on Vudu years ago. Isn't that the Walmart owned one? Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think Walmart owns Vudu. I could be wrong, though. And it was fine. I think the main reason I went to Google, besides the fact that I use Google for everything, like me and my team use Google Drive, we use Google Docs for all my documents, I use Google for YouTube, I use Google for my email, I use Google for everything. But the other main reason that I use Google for purchasing my movies is this. Google's never going away. I never have to worry that Google is going to shut down and I'm going to lose access to my movie collection. Google ain't going nowhere. And that's one of the reasons why I use that. But Walmart is a huge beast of a company. It's not like it's going to go anywhere anytime soon either. James Bonner writes, after watching the movie The Dirt, that's the Motley Crue movie on Netflix, I have to say I would have been better off just watching old Motley Crue concert footage on YouTube. Yeah, I'm not hearing great things. I'm not hearing great things about it. And I'm not surprised. I remember when the trailer dropped on the John Campea Show, me and Rob talked about the trailer, and I said something that was very unpopular. I said, I'm not impressed. I didn't like the trailer. It felt too polished and too clean and kind of thin. And I don't know. It's just the trailer didn't feel good to me. The trailer did not make me interested in watching it. Now, I'm hearing feedback from a bunch of people writing to me and saying, yeah, The Dirt's not all that good. Now, I haven't seen it myself. I don't know if it's good or not. I'm just simply telling you what I've had other people telling me. But yeah, you're not alone, James. I'm not hearing great things from a lot of people. All right. The Chum Bucket writes, what are your thoughts on the agents/writers conflict? I honestly don't know much about it. I know that there have been articles in the major trades like the Hollywood Reporter and Variety and Deadline almost every day about the conflict and the negotiations going on right now between the Writers Guild and agencies and stuff like that. But quite frankly, honestly, I don't know much about it. I didn't stop to read much about it. So I have a very, very surface understanding of it. So not much for me to give my thoughts on, unfortunately. I should do it. We should do a more in-depth story on the John Campea Show this week talking about it, though. We really should. Mr. Hank Dunn writes, I give my left nut to keep physical media around. Well, the problem is you have to convince other people. Because here's the thing. It's all market-driven, right? It's all market-driven. So if more people start buying physical media, the market will respond. They'll keep making physical media. If there's money to be made, they will respond. But less and less and less and less people are buying physical media. But hey, you still have your collection. It's not going to go anywhere. So, I mean, that's the good news. Zach Bartran writes, Shazam was such a blast. Heartwarming and entertaining as hell. I still say Man of Steel and BVS are my 1 and 2 for the DCU, but this is a solid third place. Dude, I think that's just, it is. I love the fact they used the word heartwarming. I should have used that word myself. It is a heartwarming film. It really is. It's got a lot of heart. It's got, it's deeper in some ways than I thought it would go. It's very shallow in some areas just for some fun and for some laughs, and deeper and emotional in others. I had a blast with it, man. I had an absolute blast. By the time the movie was over and the final end credit scene played, I didn't want to leave the theater. I wanted more. And just, I don't want to oversell it. I'm not trying to say, this is the greatest movie of all time and greatest comic book. I'm not saying any of that, but it is a blast. It is such a good time in the theater. It's the type of movie that just makes me love going to the movies, you know? And I'm glad you liked it, Zach, because I certainly did too. All right. Jedi Lori writes, Fandango waived convenience fee for AMC stubs. Not anymore. Really? Yeah, because I remember the last time I had to use Fandango, by entering my AMC stubs number, it waived any convenience fees. So are they not doing that anymore? I got to look into it. That's interesting to know, because they used to waive it if you're an AMC stubs member and had your AMC stubs number entered. I have to look into that, Jedi. Thanks for pointing that out. Murray Reich writes, Wonder Park is at 39 million. Has anyone actually seen it? I have not. I have not, as a matter of fact. Let me pull this up. Wonder Park made, man, it came in third place this weekend on its second weekend. It now has a worldwide total of $39 million. I'm telling you what, this movie is going to lose so much money, but it's already made way more than I thought it would. Like after 2 weeks, it's at 39 million bucks worldwide, 29 million domestically, 10 million foreign, for 39.6 million worldwide total. That's way more than I thought it would, dude. Way more than I thought. And it's still going to take a total bath. It's an absolute flop. It's an incredible flop because this was over a $100 million movie to make. And, but hey, at least they're not losing as much as they could have, because I thought they were going to lose even more, to be straight with you. Let's see. Darklock63 writes, watched Shazam, liked it, did not love it. Subjectivity, no. Oh, absolutely. And you know what, Darklock? Hey, man, as long as you liked it, as long as you went to the movie theater and you had a good time and you liked it, that's great. But that's movies for you, right? I think there are going to be people that watch Shazam that flat out don't like it. I expect that because movies are subjective. No movie has everybody in the world loving it. No movie has every person in the world hating it. But hey, man, at least you spent some time, went to the movie theater, and you at least had a decent time. That's at least the win. So I'm glad you had a good time, man. All right, Murray Reich writes, Captain Marvel now at 910 million. Has it broken even yet? Hashtag kidding. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some videos and some blog posts being made about trying to come up with some weird way to say that Captain Marvel still hasn't broken even. It's lost money for Disney. I'm sure those will still be out there at some point. KW Garrett 83 writes, over under 5%, we ever get a sequel to Titanic where Rose gets on the Hindenburg and falls in love. She escapes using a 2-person parachute, but leaves her lover behind. I'll tell you what, man. There's a little company called the Asylum, called Asylum. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, hey, that sounds familiar. Why do I know that name? What's this? The Asylum is this studio that makes all the rip-off movies. Like, there were Snakes on a Plane, they made Snakes on a Train. There's the Transformers, they made the Transmorphers. They did all these, like, 100 of these, like, little rip-off films. And they're also the studio behind Sharknado. They also made Sharknado. And I'll tell you what, I would pay good money, KW, I would pay good money for Asylum, somebody from the Asylum to watch this show and go, that right there, that's a movie they got to make. They got to make that. They got to make that movie. Titanic 2, The Curse of Rose, and have some time travel involved, have some whatever, and have the whole thing, and like the trailer's her going, not again. I got to see that movie. And Asylum are the guys to do it. So for those of you guys who work at the Asylum watching this show, my God, please make this movie that KW has just come up with, because I would want to see that. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, I don't care what anyone says. I love Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Me too, Ryan, as a matter of fact. There's no rule that says you have to choose just one. Look, it's always funny because I am one of these people that actually doesn't like Tim Burton all that much. I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. I fully admit it. I'm not a big Tim Burton fan. And yet I really do enjoy his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And oddly enough, that's the Tim Burton film that a lot of Tim Burton fans don't like. But I had a good time with it. Look, is it as good as the original? No, it's not as good as the original, but it's still really good. And so you and me are on the same side on this, Ryan. I like Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Orange Hand writes, have you or Robert Meyer Burnett ever worked in comics? Ooh, I know I haven't. I've never worked in comics. Has Robert? I don't think Robert has. Robert has always been in the movie business, I'm pretty sure. I mean, the dude knows everything about comics, but I don't think he's ever worked in the comic book industry, to be honest with you. I'll ask him sometime. Jeremiah Jaquez writes, cry time when Hawkeye's family turns to dust and Cap dies heroically after he says, I can do this all day. Cry time! I'm telling you guys, I've been telling you all day. From beginning to end, Avengers Endgame is going to be cry time. Whether it's, Tony and Pepper's wedding and Stan Lee, his cameo is Stan Lee is officiating the wedding of Tony and Pepper. Cry time. Everybody's going to cry. We're going to see Hawkeye holding his daughter and his son in his arms, weeping as they start going, Daddy, we don't feel so good. And they start to dust and they die in his arms. Cry time. There's going to be so much cry time. So much cry time in Avengers Endgame, man. And yes, if Cap dies while going, I can do this all day. Oh, weepy cry time. Weepy cry time, Jeremiah. All right. Luke Blackwell writes, John, did you hear that Emilia Clarke had 2 strokes and nearly died during the first season of Game of Thrones? I think the news came out yesterday. I'll tell you what I did hear. I was on, what news website? I go on a bunch of news websites. I think I was on CNN's site. And I saw a Game of Thrones actor shares near-death experience. And I'm like, oh, but I never read the story. I'm assuming that what you're talking about right here. I'm assuming this story is what that was probably referring. I did not hear about that. See, now I got to go back onto the news sites and go read up on that. Really, she had 2 strokes. That's scary, man. I mean, I suffered 2 heart attacks. And that was scary. But yeah, 2 strokes. I mean, oh my God, that would be like really scary. I got to go read up on that. All right, Jared McBride writes, I watched Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood this morning. I have to say it was wonderful. I shed some tears. I grew up watching this show. And this man did a lot of good. Dude, I'm telling you what, the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor? I am still, unless there is a technical reason why it didn't qualify for the Oscars, I still have had nobody explain to me how Won't You Be My Neighbor was not nominated. It should have won Best Documentary. Free Climb or Free Solo, not all due respect to Free Solo, which did win Best Documentary of the Year. That Mr. Rogers thing, there are some movies that make you want to be a better person, and then there are movies you watch that make you a better person. Just watching this movie will make you a better person. I mean, I am still beside myself how that did not, and I need somebody from the Academy. I've got some friends in the Academy. I need to ask them straight up, why was Won't You Be My Neighbor not nominated for Best Documentary? Someone's got to explain that to me. It was one of the most moving documentaries I'd ever seen in my life. And I still, to this day, have no idea why, Jared. Why was that movie not nominated? And it should have been a shoo-in to win. So I don't get it. That was a truly special man. That Mr. Rogers was a truly special man. And I contend to this day, he's the guy that could have stopped Thanos. He would have found a way. He would have sat down with Thanos. You seem kind of angry. Why is that? And he would have talked him through it. He would have talked Thanos through it. Man, I still don't get it, Jared, man. It still gets me mad. Thank you so much, Jared, because now you just made me mad again. Took me a few months to get over it, but now I'm mad again about it. But yeah, man, someone's got to explain that to me. It really, really was a special thing and such a special man, and it is what it is. All right, Tucker Flynn writes, How much for Universal to start considering selling distribution rights for Hulk and other Marvel characters back to Disney? Over $1 billion? Yeah, well, I do know this. It's numbers that Disney doesn't think is worth it. Like, Disney, everybody's saying, oh, just buy it back for $5 billion. Well, it's not worth $5 billion. We can't just go throwing billions of dollars around. It's got to be a number that's higher than Disney is comfortable spending. So whatever they're at right now, it's got to be higher. But look, I just want them to get this figured out. Like, as a movie fan, I don't care who distributes the movie. I just want an Incredible Hulk movie. I want a new Hulk movie. And I don't care who the distributor is. Marvel, just make the damn movie and make a deal with Universal. Let Universal distribute it. I mean, I get and I understand why Marvel doesn't want to do that. I get and I understand why Disney doesn't want to do that. I do. I understand it. But this stalemate's gone on long enough. The fans really want another Hulk movie. Hell, I know I do. I don't speak for all the fans, clearly, but I know I do. And I know a lot of people that do. We want another Hulk movie. Give us another Hulk movie. And if you can't get by this impasse with Universal, then just play ball with them for now and figure it out later. That's the only holdup right now, is that Disney will not make another Hulk movie as long as Universal has the rights to distribute it. But they probably don't want to pay the number that Universal would say they would let those rights go for. Okay, fine. So we're at a stalemate. Then just play ball together for now. I don't know. I mean, I get it. It's a tough situation. It's not my money, so it's easy for me to say what other people should do with money that's not mine. But I just want another movie, man. Let's see. Alex Von Gollum writes, hey, Gio, do you think Episode 9 will dig deeper into the Prime Jedi? Links with ancient history would be cool. I don't think so. I think this isn't the movie to introduce all that kind of stuff. This is the final chapter of this trilogy. You're in the realm where you're wrapping things up. You're wrapping up this trilogy. It's not the time to introduce a whole new element. At least I don't think so. So I think James or JJ is going to be very focused on taking what we have and wrapping it up in a fun, exciting, exhilarating way. But I don't think that opens, should we introduce now these entire elements of Star Wars that we've never really gone into in the final chapter of a trilogy? I don't think that's the time to do it. Could we get into that stuff in the Star Wars universe as a whole moving forward? Yeah, we could get into that stuff. But is this the movie to do that in? It doesn't feel like it. It just feels like it'd be the very wrong place to do that. So I think very unlikely. But after that, after Episode 9, yeah, I could see one of these filmmakers getting in that territory very much. Aidan Foley writes, a good Canadian band to listen to is Rush. Oh, of course, Rush. I mean, there's some bands that that go without saying, and Rush is definitely one of those bands. Rush, Bare Naked Ladies, anyway. There's a bunch of them. So, yes, I love Rush. One of the reasons why I love You Man so much is that the entire movie of I Love You Man is basically one big love letter to Rush, which is always great. Getty Lee, ladies and gentlemen. Gone with the Wind remake someday. Just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, Gone with the Wind. Let's see. Anmal Bajpai writes, I wish Marvel would separate MCU canon from Marvel Television. Oh, they already do. They really already do. Marvel Studios films and Disney Plus shows are really the only thing treated as canon. And then Maul goes on to write, I know I'm in the minority, but I only consider MCU films canon. Tried Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. for 2.5 seasons, bless my soul. They already do. It's already been made very, very clear. Like, while the Marvel TV shows, essentially we're talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. While they will always reference the movies never reference Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is very influenced by what goes on in the movies. The movies are never influenced by what goes on in the TV show. So, really, canon is the movies. Really. Because the movies have never referenced anything that happens in the TV shows. The TV shows are always doing things in reaction to and in response to and in anticipation of what happens in the movies, but it's never the other way around. So that really essentially, Anmal, is how, practically speaking, they've always handled it. And Kevin Feige's even gone on record before to talk about how they do not cross over anything from the television universe into the movies. He's gone on record and talked about that. And talked about why they don't do that and all that kind of stuff. So while they say they're all in the same universe, for all practical intents and purposes, the movie universe has never really been a part of what goes on with the TV world. Even though the TV world has often referenced the movies, it's never been the other way around. So in that sense, Enmal, it really is that the movies are the only true canon. Really. It's, for all practical intents, that's really the way it is. So you should be a happy man, sir. You should be a happy man. All right. Alex Von Gollum writes, theory. Realizing the hero's plan, Thanos does a surprise attack in the Avengers HQ, halts his retirement. That's why there is orange glowing at the windows from Lang's scene in trailer 2. Thoughts? Nah, I don't think so. I really don't. I think Thanos is done. He's off on some other planet in some other world. Look, my drink has gone dry. I'm going to have to take a break here in a second, guys. So no, I really don't think so. I don't think there was any preemptive attack from Thanos. I don't think Thanos is any shape to do a preemptive attack on anybody or anything. I think Thanos is retired. That's it. I think the Avengers go and find him. I think that was pretty much heavily suggested in the trailer where Thor is basically standing at the doorway looking out into the world that Thanos went and retired to at the end of Infinity War. So I think there's a lot of things that we see in the trailer that kind of point towards that. It's an interesting theory, Alex. I just don't see anything supporting it right now. And everything that we know, the Gauntlet is damaged. Thanos himself is damaged. The Russo brothers say both, the Gauntlet and Thanos, are permanently damaged. They're not in any shape to mount any kind of offensive against anybody. So I don't think that's the way they're going to go. I don't think that's the way they're going to go. But hey, we are less than a month away from finding out. We are now, well, basically, we are 1 month away now from finding out. We're 1 month away from finding out all the answers. It's getting close, everybody. Anmal follows up with, also, how would you rank Tarantino, Nolan, Inarritu, Cuarón, Fincher, and Villeneuve? I personally might put Inarritu at the top. Have a great day. I don't like doing rankings. I don't like doing that stuff, generally speaking. I will tell you, my favorite out of that bunch is Nolan. Nolan, to me, has made... just some, I mean, even if you take the Batman films out of it, Nolan is like a truly crazy visionary director, but absolutely everybody on your list is fantastic. Inarritu might actually rank a little bit lower on that list, but look at the names on the list. The list is a name of, or name after name after name of incredibly high caliber, talented people. We got Tarantino's, pardon me, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood coming out here. All the stuff that Fincher's done. Villeneuve's working on Dune right now. Cuarón's just won another Oscar. I mean, this is a great list of names. I would actually probably have Inarritu, as great as he is, a little bit lower on the list, but Nolan would probably be my guy on top. Okay. A couple more questions, guys, and then I'm going to take a 5-minute break with your indulgence. I'm going to take a 5-minute break, give my voice a little bit of a rest, refill my drink so I'm ready to go here. DBZ Now writes, love Shazam. It had unexpected dark moments. Oh, it did have some dark moments. It had some really dark stuff that totally surprised me. And oh God, I wish we could do our spoiler discussion right now because so much stuff I want to talk about with you guys. So much stuff I want to talk about with you guys and get your points of view on. But anyway, I'm going to have to wait. But yep, there certainly were, DBZ. Animal writes, suggestion for Marvel comics I've never read. Whenever people ask me about a great place to start reading either DC or Marvel, my Marvel suggestion usually goes to, only because it's my favorite all-time story, is Age of Apocalypse. I love the Age of Apocalypse stuff. It's just great, and it also leads into some pretty cool stuff. Like after Age of Apocalypse came, there was like Dark Beast stuff, and then you had Onslaught, and you had a lot of that kind of stuff. And maybe even the series leading into X-Men Age of Apocalypse is the, it's a series around Legion. And I'm trying to remember the specific name of the story that happens right before the events of Age of Apocalypse. It's Legion something. Anyway, that's for me is a good place to start. And then go into Age of Apocalypse, and then you'll kind of be hooked a little bit, I think. Richard Karate writes, your favorite historical movie, Alexander Troy, Kingdom of Heaven, or 300? Well, 300 is not really historical. You can make an argument about any of the historicity of a lot of these. My favorite film out of all those is 300. I love 300. Zack Snyder, his work on that, it's fabulous. It's visually moving. There's a lot of manly grr moments in that movie. I'm just a big fan of 300. So out of that particular offering you're giving me, Richard, I'm going to pick 300. That's what I'm going to go with. Lone Wolf FX6 writes, gotta say, best villain in Supernatural for me so far is Lucifer and Amara. Worst for me is Roman the Leviathan. Yeah, I wasn't all that big on the Leviathan storyline. And Raphael. Best villain to me. I guess I can't say Crowley, because Crowley kind of, I mean, he became an ally of the brothers. So I guess you can't just definitively call him a villain. But man, Crowley, other than the brothers, Crowley's probably my favorite character all time on Supernatural. I love Crowley. Mark Sheppard as Crowley was great. I hope they bring him back for season 15. But yeah, Lucifer. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on Lucifer. That was great. And I love the Amara storyline as well. Amara was God's sister. But I did love... Lucifer has just been an ongoing character ever since season 4 or 5. Anyway, and he's always been a great presence. I've loved the way they've used his character. So I'm going to agree with you on Lucifer. Okay. AG Systems 120 writes, if Endgame is 3+ hours, would theaters show fewer trailers? Shazam had 28 minutes. Nope. Well, 28 minutes? Really? That's got to be incorrect. It can't have been 28 minutes. My theater was around the 22 minutes. But 28, I timed that out again. Anyway, would theaters show? No, that's not the theater's problem. Movie theaters make money on showing trailers. Just because the studios make their movie longer doesn't mean the theaters have to sacrifice their money. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the way movie theaters are going to look at it. So if Marvel makes their movie 3 hours long, is that going to make movie theaters shorten their trailer time? Nah. Not unless Marvel wants to pay the studios, pay the theaters extra money for the money they're going to lose by not showing the trailers. So, no. If Endgame is over 3 hours or under 3 hours, it's not going to affect the movie theaters. That's not the movie theaters' problem. That's not the movie theaters. If Marvel makes Avengers Endgame 3 hours, that's Marvel's issue. That's Marvel's problem. So, no, I don't think it's going to affect movie theaters and how many trailers they show. And it shouldn't be their problem. It really shouldn't be their problem. Let's see. Lone Wolf X6 writes, also, Crowley is an amazing villain. When I see Crowley and Cass team up, I get excited, just bicker. It's so funny. But I love watching Crowley and Castiel together. An angel and a demon. There's a new show coming out that's got Michael Sheen. I can't remember what the name of the show is, but as an angel and a demon teaming up and working together. Yeah, they did that in Supernatural a long time ago. When Crowley and Cass would have to work together. The King of Hell, one of the generals of heaven, an angel and Castiel working together. It was always, and seeing them bicker and their back and forth was always great. I used to love that stuff, Lone Wolf. I used to love that stuff. All right. Timothy Plott writes, tell Don Cherry to suck it. Hashtag hockey should be fun. Hockey is fun. And how dare you speak ill of the great Reverend Don Cherry. Don Cherry is an institution, my friend. I love Don Cherry. I really do. James O'Rourke writes, so just watch Cell with 1408 co-stars John Cusack and Sam Jackson. Interesting take on zombies. I haven't seen that one. Hold a second. That was not a wide release film. I mean, there's The Cell, but that's Jennifer. That was Jennifer Lawrence's. So Cell was a 2016 film. Oh, I do know this film, and I never watched it. This is a movie that never got a theatrical release. Yeah. So I never bothered watching it. Is it actually good? The user rating is quite low, but user ratings are user ratings. Who cares? The user rating's quite low on it. That's interesting. So it's an interesting take on zombies. All right, I'll have to read up a little bit on it. I'd be curious, just because it has John Cusack and Samuel Jackson, and I like those two guys, so I'll have to at least look into that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to do Garrett's question, then Baby Boy's question, then I'm going to take a 5-minute break, guys, because I'm, like I said, my throat's starting to get a little bit sore, and I'm running low on liquid. Okay, here we go here. Garrett Couch writes, PSA, as a paraplegic, I know firsthand that many try to go to the bathroom every 2 to 3 hours. So vote yes on intermissions. I'm telling you, Garrett, I'm down with that. I think if movies are over 3 hours, they should have an intermission. It will cut down on the amount of people getting up and down during a movie. It gives everybody a quick moment to go and refill their sodas and popcorn, so that's good for the movie theaters. It lets everybody have a chance to just check their phones quick out in the foyer, so you'll have less distractions during the movies and less people feeling the need to pull out their phones. I just think there's a lot of uptime. And I reject this notion that having an intermission ruins the movie. It pulls you out of the movie. BS. People watch movies at home all the time, hit pause to answer the phone, hit pause to go check on dinner. It doesn't ruin your movie-going experience. I reject that notion. I don't think that's valid. You can say that all you want, but the reality is when we watch movies at home and TV shows at home, we hit pause all the time. So to hit a good point in the movie where you can hit pause, and it gives a lot of... Now, I'm not saying for every movie, but if you're going to have a movie 3 hours, why not? Why not? Take a 10-minute break, let people run to the bathroom, refill their drinks, check their phones, stretch their legs, whatever, and then get back into the movie. I see no problem with that. I think it's a great idea. I hope they do it at some point. At least I hope they test it, because who knows? Maybe they do it, and maybe we all realize, this actually isn't that good of an idea. Maybe that happens. Or maybe they do it and they go, why haven't we done this all along? This is fantastic. I think it's something they should try, Garrett. I really do. Okay. Baby Boy 8603 writes, as much as I dislike X-Men The Last Stand, I watched it again recently. The character Kid Omega, played by Ken Leung, worst mutant powers ever, didn't see a point why his character was in the movie. I'll tell you what. I've seen X-Men The Last Stand 3 or 4 times. It's been years since I've seen it. I do not even remember the character. I don't remember the character or what his power is. I really don't, which tells you something, that I don't even remember the character or what his power was. I remember Ken being in the movie, but I have no idea who he was or what he did. I can't even remember it. That's just how memorable X-Men The Last Stand was. Although I will say this about X-Men The Last Stand, Baby Boy. What I will say for it is that in the big battle scene that happens near the end of the film, it's a pretty good battle scene. And Kelsey Grammer's Beast was actually great. I love the way Beast fought. I don't think any other X-Men film has done Beast as well as they did in that movie. With Kelsey Grammer's Beast and the way he did his combat and fighting, I thought was actually great. So even in the worst of movies, there are some pretty good things. And, X-Men Last Stand isn't the worst of movies, but it's a pretty bad film. And I can't even remember Ken in it, but at least the one good standout thing I'll say was Kelsey Grammer's Beast. I thought that was actually pretty good. Okay, guys, here's what I'm going to do. My throat, we've been going for an hour and 45 minutes now. I need to take just a short break here. Like I said, give me about 5 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. I'm going to rest my throat up, top up my drink, stretch my legs for a minute, and we will be right back. Continuing on, we're going to start with KM when we get back here. So we're going to continue on once we get back. Thanks for being here, guys. I'll be back in just 5 minutes. I'll talk to you shortly. And we are back, guys. Thank you so much for indulging me taking a quick short break there, get my liquids refilled there and all that kind of stuff. Let's jump right back into it now, and we'll pick things up at KM, who writes, "Baby delivery soon." Wow, congratulations, man. That's awesome. Pick one soundtrack for me. Listen, this may not be the best. I don't know if you're looking for a soundtrack for baby delivery, but for me, my go-to soundtrack is always not even Star Wars. It's actually Lord of the Rings soundtracks. There's just something about the music that is both inspiring and soothing and all that kind of stuff. Shore's masterpiece. I love the soundtrack to that. And again, KM, congratulations. I hope you guys have a successful, healthy, good delivery. And congratulations, dude. That's awesome. All right. Timothy Platt writes, "Man of Steel is in my top 7 comic book movies of all time, and Shazam is the best DC movie since The Dark Knight. Take that for what it's worth." Yeah, I mean, look, I love Man of Steel. I love Shazam. It's so good. It's just so entertaining and fun and heartfelt and warm and funny, and it's just a wonderful movie-going experience. It really is. I think all you guys are gonna have a really good time watching it. Clearly, Timothy, you did. So did I. And I cannot wait for us to do a spoiler discussion on it, but we got to wait 2 weeks for that, unfortunately. All right, Richard Karate writes, thoughts on the Christopher Lee? Oh, the Christopher Lee Dracula movie is great, classic. I mean, it's ultimate classic Christopher Lee. Like, yeah, if you want to have a Christopher Lee, kind of repertoire, you got to go with his Dracula as well. So absolutely, yeah, I love it. It's classic. Joshua Howard writes, will we see / should we get a Star Wars movie based solely around the 501st Legion, aka Vader's Fist? Nah. No, I mean, look, the 501st is great. And all the stuff they do is wonderful. I mean, I'm so thankful they're a part of the fandom world. Should they do a movie based on that? Nah. No, I don't think we'll ever see that, nor do I think they really should. Ben C. writes, things you never want to see happen in Endgame. I don't know. Look, kind of in both ways that I don't go in with a checkbox of things I want them to do. I try not to go into a movie with the checkbox things that they shouldn't. But, I mean, if I'm going to be honest, I guess I don't want to see somebody else say Avengers Assemble other than Captain America. Maybe they do, and that's fine, but I really don't want them to see that. And I really don't want to see them use time travel. To me, that's a lazy man's device, because every problem in every movie can be solved with time travel. There's not a single problem you can have in a movie that can't be solved with time travel. It is the laziest plot device ever. Laziest plot device ever. That doesn't mean there's not good uses of time travel in some movies. Back to the Future, Star Trek The Voyage Home. There are some great uses of time travel. But for the most part, I will admit I'll be a little bit sad if I see that time travel is a big part of Avengers, because, again, it's a lazy man's device. Because every movie can have every single problem solved with time travel. I hope they come up with something more creative than that. And if they do use time travel, I hope they come up with some really good creative ways to use it, because it's a poor man's plot device to me. Let's see. David Goldstein writes, do you think there's a chance we are close to DC planning another team-up movie? Nope. Possibly instead of Justice League, maybe doing a Trinity movie? Nope. And here's the thing. With every big success that DC has, it only more firmly plants them that they're going in the right direction away from team-ups and shared universes. They're just getting started on this. Look, we've already heard from Warner Brothers that right now their focus is not on shared universe stuff. Their focus is on individual standalone movies, period. Now, will it always be that way? No, but they're just getting started. They're just getting started. So they do Aquaman, makes $1 billion. So they think, we're on the right path doing just single standalone movies. Now we're going to have Shazam, which the critics love, the audience is going to love, and is going to make them a lot of money. And all that's going to do them is make them think, wow, now we should do team-up movies. No, it's going to make them go, wow, this philosophy of doing single, standalone, individual movies is really working. Let's keep that going for a while. Are they ever going to do more team-up movies? Of course they are. Absolutely. Are they close to it? Nope. They're just getting started on this. It's going to be a little while. They'll do it eventually, but they're not close to it. And Shazam's success is just going to really more firmly plant them. and convince them they were on the right path doing solo standalone movies. Paul M. writes, I really don't understand why more studios try to do a budget of around $100 million. If it flops, it isn't as damaging. And if it goes 500 plus, it's a huge financial gain. Lots of movies have 100 million or less budgets. Like, let me just pull this up right now. Hold a second. So, right now, out in theaters, we have Us, that's under a $100 million budget. We have Captain Marvel and Wonder Park. Those are over $100 million budgets. 5 Feet Apart, under $100 million budget. How to Train Your Dragon, over $100 million. Tyler Perry's Medea Family Funeral, under $100 million. Gloria Bell, under. Let's see, the Lego Movie Part 2 is over. Alita, over. Captive State, under. Apollo Level, under. Isn't Romantic, under. Green Book, under. Glass, under. The Upside, under. Fighting with My Family, under. What Men Want, under. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, over. Happy Death Day to You, under. Yeah, so there's a lot of films that are being made for $100 or sub $100 million budgets. Lots of them coming out. They get made for that budget. So there you go. They are doing it. They are doing it. All right. Cameron W. writes, who's Nebula so viciously attacking in Avengers Endgame trailer, if not Thanos? Her intensity suggests it's someone that bears emotional significance to her. Not really. If there's anybody there trying to kill her, that's enough to get a really angry look on her face, particularly if it's somebody that landed a shot against her. If somebody's trying to kill me, I don't need it to be somebody I have a history with to get me really emotionally invested in that fight. If somebody's in here trying to kill me and I'm in a life or death battle with them right now, that's all the emotion I need. That's all the stuff I need. I don't think her looking intense and angry and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that she's not fighting Thanos. I'm not definitively saying she's not fighting Thanos. I'm just saying that the fact that she looks really intense doesn't, to me, say that means it has to be somebody that she has a history with. It can be anybody who is trying to take her life away from her. And that's all it means to me. It could be Thanos. It could be. But I don't think that look on her face points to that it is Thanos or something. I don't think that it does that. That's just my opinion, though, at any rate. Dial Jones writes, is the Haunted Mansion reboot still happening? I honestly don't know. I mean, we heard a bunch about it, and then all of a sudden, nothing. So let me see what they're saying on IMDb. Not that it's the, Haunted Mansion. There's really nothing listed. If I go to IMDb Pro, the last time they talked anything about was 2014, but really nothing. It's been... Okay, here's the last little bit of it. In September of 2016, Digital Trends interviewed Disney executive producer Brigham Taylor, who said Guillermo del Toro is still very much attached and involved. It's just been going through at its own pace because it's a movie that I think will eventually get made, but should only be made when it's absolutely ready to be made. That was in 2016. So that was almost 3 years ago. Will it ever get made? Probably, but it doesn't sound or look like it's about to happen imminently. So yeah, there's that, unfortunately. James L.H. writes, hey, John, do you ever watch nature shows? Oh, yeah. The latest from Netflix in April called Our Planet looks amazing with the great David Attenborough in his 90s. You know, he's like royalty here in the UK. I have a hard time not watching those. Whether it's like Earth or Our Planet or whatever those, I get a kick out of watching those nature shows. I don't know why. I just totally do. Now, somebody asked me the other day, I don't think it was you, James. It might have been, but I don't think it was you. Somebody asked me the other day if they should get like bigger theatrical releases. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think they would do well in the theater. But I got to admit, I get a big kick out of them. And I love the narration in them as well. And I love them when they're looking at the polar world, or they're looking at the deserts, or they're looking at the jungles. Whatever it is, I just get a kick out of these well-done things. And I'll tell you what, March of the Penguins is actually one of my favorite documentaries of all time. That was some really good storytelling, actually. When you really look at March of the Penguins, the way they present it, it's really good storytelling. I find myself getting attached to the narrative going on within this documentary about penguins. It's crazy, but I got to admit, James, I do really get into these nature shows and these nature documentary things. Garrett Couch writes, Kong, I'm huge and have opposable thumbs. I'm king now, Godzilla. Hold my beer. It's going to be interesting. Now, what the funny thing here is, Garrett, is that like a lot of these X versus Y movies that usually come down into like a predictable draw, the director of Kong versus Godzilla said there's going to be a definitive winner. There's going to be a definitive winner. Now, undoubtedly, after one is definitively the winner, the two will team up to fight a bigger threat. Of course, we know that's coming. But it is interesting to say that there's going to be a definitive winner. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of rooting for Kong. So let's see what happens. But I'm very excited for the new Godzilla King of the Monsters movie. Very excited for that. All right. Zuza Yu writes, Captain Marvel made worldwide $910,289,835 and climbing, ladies and gentlemen, and climbing. It is going to hit $1 billion. The movie is going to hit $1 billion. So there you go. The newest member of the $1 billion club is going to be Captain Marvel. All right, the Jumengo writes, ever had a 180-degree turn on a movie? For me, it was Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Thought it was a comic book masterpiece on release. Rewatch today now. Think it's overrated, corny. Uses Mary Jane as a sex prop almost. Doc Ock and Parker interactions are cringe with. I completely disagree. I watched Spider-Man 2 again about, maybe a year or so ago. I watched that about, a year or so ago, something like that. And I got to tell you, I loved it as much today as I did the first day I saw it. I loved it as much today as the first day I watched it. That movie for a little while, for a certain period of time, was the greatest comic book movie ever made. For a window of time. And I totally believe it stands up. I totally do. The latest movie that I had it really very rarely happens to me. It happens to all film fans. It very rarely happens to me. The last time I had a real 180-degree turn on a movie, you got to go all the way back to Inglourious Bastards. Which year did Inglourious Bastards come out here? One second. What year did that came out? It came out in 2009, so you got to go back 10 years ago. I hated that movie the first time I saw it. Hated it. I thought it was terrible. And then I watched it again about 6 months later. I'm like, wait, why didn't I like this? This is awesome. Like it was a complete 180. So for me, the last time that it happened, you got to go back 10 years to Inglourious Bastards. But that's the movie to me that really made me do a 180. To this day, I'm like, was I sick when I first watched it? Was I in a bad mood? Like, how did I not love this the first time I saw it? I have no idea. And the only reason I watched it again is because I wanted to make I had a girl over, and she wanted to see it. So I'm like, all right, let's pop it in and watch it. Whatever keeps her in a good mood. And I'm watching like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I'm watching. So I have no idea. I have no explanation for that. But that's the last time it happened to me. But I'll disagree with you on the Spider-Man 2 thing. I still think that movie holds up. That movie to me is fantastic. Still a top 10 greatest comic book movie in the world to me. Chris Warden writes, so now Cinemia is asking for tips/donations from its members, and the app isn't working. This company is really starting to circle the drain. Yeah. I think they gave it a good go. I think they gave it a really good go. They were certainly better than MoviePass. MoviePass just started as shady. I mean, their whole philosophy of business was, let's conduct business at a rate that we know we can't afford and just amass a huge enough audience that we can use them as blackmail against the studios and movie theater chains to blackmail them into cutting us into their action. That was their whole business philosophy, which is shady AF, man. It's just shady AF. I mean, and then they botched everything and blah, blah, blah. Cinemia at least tried to do it the right way. And it looks more and more, and look, full disclosure, I've never had anything but good experiences with Cinemia personally. But I've heard from a lot of you guys who've had bad experiences with them, and they seem to be getting worse. And I think you're right, Chris. It does look like they're starting to circle the drain, which is too bad. But in the era of A-List and in the era of, now Alamo Drafthouse is launching their own movie subscription service. Regal's going to launch theirs. It might be, their time may be done. The Jumengo writes, people hate hockey talk, gonna do it anyway. How is the Tavares signing 1 year later supposed to be a franchise transforming player and local Toronto kid? I think it's great. And look, the fact of the matter is, hockey is a team sport with like 20 plus players. You run 3 lines, some teams 4 lines, blah, blah. Any one player is only on the ice for a certain period of time. No one player will turn a team into a championship team. No one player can do that. Hell, Wayne Gretzky went to the Los Angeles Kings and they couldn't win a Stanley Cup with the greatest hockey player who ever lived. Arguably the greatest professional athlete that ever lived was Wayne Gretzky. And they didn't win a Stanley Cup with him because one player in hockey cannot change a whole narrative. He was a piece. He is a piece, and I still think he's a piece. Ryan Lohner writes, just saw that Larry Cohen passed away, a guy who had some big things to say and just did whatever he wanted with the little money he had. Some people would refer to him as one of the princes of the B movies, right? And I just literally heard before we started the show today that he had passed away, and all thoughts and well wishes to him, his family, and his friends on that as well. Thanks for bringing that up, Ryan. I appreciate that. Kevin Kamaki writes, take my money. Well, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that, man. Thank you for supporting the channel. Jamango writes, over under 25%, episode 9 beats The Force Awakens at the box office. Ooh, 25% is a good low number, but I'll even take under on that. I don't see... after the divisiveness of episode 8, I think, look, episode 9 is going to make big money. It's going to make big money. I don't think it's going to make $2 billion. I don't think it's going to make $2 billion. Not like, The Force Awakens did. So I'm going to take, even though 25% is a pretty good low number, I'm going to take the under on that. All right. Donnie Yasu writes, part 1 of 2. Should the snap be undone, I don't think the user of the gauntlet would survive. Soul Stone aside, the use of that much power was enough to burn Thanos' arm, and considering it took a full-on assault by Tony to get a drop of blood, I don't think even Tony could survive the gauntlet's demand. Well, let's be clear here, that even Tony's nothing. Tony's a regular human being. Tony would probably die once he put his hand in the gauntlet. Tony is not a being. He's just a regular human. He cannot wield that kind of power. He just can't. You heard, remember Ma said, as he was presenting the second stone to Thanos, he said, I bow before your grandeur. No other being has had the might, nay the nobility, to wield not one, but 2 Infinity Stones. Only very few beings have the power that they can even wield 1. Right? Ronan the Accuser was able to wield 1. No one has ever wielded 2. And Thanos wielded 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And him trying to use that power nearly killed him. Hell, Star-Lord is a Celestial. He's part Celestial. And he held a stone for a while. It didn't just immediately evaporate him. Like, you remember the one girl in Guardians did grab the stone, and within a few seconds, she just burst into powder, right? Tony is like that girl. Tony is just a regular human being. He has no superpowers. He's not celestial. He is not a superpowered being. He's a dude who wears armor. Real powerful armor, but he's still just a human being. And yeah, if he tries to wield a gauntlet, he's dead. He's instantly dead. He wouldn't even get the chance to do this with it. He'd just be dead. So they're going to have to come up with something, but it can't be him. It can't be him. All right, Warren Lucas writes, over under 15%, Mysterio featured in Endgame post-credit scene. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so. They might do something referencing Spider-Man, but I don't think it'll be Mysterio. So, I mean, not impossible, but I'll take the under on 15. Anmal writes, People talk about Tony in Civil War, but Bucky had to kill his own friend / comrade and remember doing it. Damn, how would you rank the 3 Russo MCU films? The way I do the 3, and I generally don't like ranking, but I've just got this. I do have this one off the top of my head because I had to do it recently. The best Russo MCU film to me is Civil War. The second best Russo film in the MCU is Winter Soldier, and then the third best is Infinity War. And you can put them in any order, and that's fine. But to me, Civil War is the best film they've done. Winter Soldier is the second best they've done. Infinity War is the third best they've done. Let's see how Endgame kind of matches up to that as well. I'm very excited to see it. Jumengo writes, over under 10% we ever get a DC Marvel crossover on the big screen as in the comics. Well, ever? Well, look, if you're going to use the word ever, I'll always take the over because ever is a long time. Ever? Sure, I'll take over 10% on that. 50 years from now? Sure. 100 years from now? Sure. In the next 2 years, 5 years, I take the under. But if you're going to say ever, I'll take the over. Antoine R. writes, greetings, Gio. Greetings, Antoine. Thank you for saying hi. Appreciate that. And for those of you who don't know, I've had a few people, when people say Giovanni, say, wait, why are you saying Giovanni is actually my real name. I'm Italian. My real name is Giovanni. Anyway, just so you know. Okay. Orange Hand writes, from what I understand, PG-13 films are allowed one F-bomb. If you could slip one into the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where would you put it? Nowhere. Nowhere. If I had the ability to slip one in, I would say I choose nowhere because it does not fit the movies. It doesn't fit the tone or the feel or anything of the movies at all. So for it up to me, the answer is absolutely nowhere because it doesn't fit. It would just make it would feel odd and awkward and out of place and jarring. It would pull you out of the movie. So I'd say none. None is where I would put them, Orange. None is where I would put them. Warren Lucas writes, which of the struggling franchises gets rebooted by Disney first? Die Hard, Predator, or Alien, or other? Anytime soon, none of them. But you're not asking anytime soon. Just which one happens first? Which one comes first? Alien. And again, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I don't think Alien or Predator or Die Hard are going to be high on Disney's priority list. They're all struggling franchises. Why would you put your priority there? But ultimately, these are recognizable IPs with history. You might want to go back to them at some point. I think the first one they try is Alien. I got nothing to back that up with. That's just me guessing. Interesting question, Warren. I like that one. But yeah, I'll say Alien probably be the first one they try. Cornflakes writes, does Bob Iger think people are dumb? Everyone knows Deadpool is a rated R character with rated R movies. What would they get confused at? No, it's not that Bob Iger doesn't think people are dumb, but you have to respect your audience. And here's the thing, Cornflake. Everybody thinks the world thinks the same way in terms that their clique does, that their circle does. And that's not the case. All right? Everybody thinks everybody else thinks the way me and my friends think. And they don't. All right? They don't. Bob Iger is smarter than any of us. Let's just be clear about that. He's way smarter than any of us. All right? Bob Iger understands that he is not just running a movie studio. In the grand scheme of things, the movie studio of Disney isn't even that big of a thing compared to the overall Disney empire. Bob Iger is running the Disney empire. All right? And he understands his customers. And he understands his brand. And brands, plural, brands. He understands his brands very, very well. And there is a trust between his customers and his brands. And if Bob Iger says, we have to be very careful about making sure our audience, our customers, the people who make Disney what it is, that we're very clear in our communication and how we manage these different properties and things, that we never let our audience feel that we misled them about something, or they get into something in one of our properties that they didn't realize they were getting into. Because I'm sorry, cornflakes, but you are 100% wrong. Not everybody knows Deadpool is R-rated stuff. They don't. They don't. You do, your friends do, I do, a lot of people who watch my show do. But the bottom line is you are 100% wrong. You're 100% wrong. And in managing their relationship with their customers and their brand, when Bob Iger says we need to make sure that we are effectively and 100% communicating and managing these properties in such a way that there is never an ounce of misunderstanding that can threaten the trust between our customers and us. When we put out movies, because look, everybody knows the MCU, you can go to any Marvel film. You can go to any Marvel MCU film with you and your family. It's just known. You can do that. And they have meticulously cultivated that image. They have meticulously cultivated that brand so that our customers know that there'll be some heavy stuff, there'll be a little bit of dark stuff, there'll be some intense stuff, but overall, we feel comfortable saying to you, our customers, you can come and bring your families and all that kind of stuff. An MCU experience is an experience for everybody. Now, you introduce the concept of R-rated material that flies directly in the face of this relationship and this understanding that Bob Iger and Disney and Marvel have spent over a decade cultivating. That an MCU product means it's a product for everybody. That if the MCU and Marvel brand is on it, you don't even have to worry about it, family. You don't have to worry about it, parent. You don't have to worry about it at all. You can come, you can bring your kids, you can all have a good time. You can trust the Marvel brand. You can trust the MCU label. That is something they have worked their asses off and very cautiously and calculatedly cultivated over more than a decade. That the Marvel brand, the MCU brand, means without thought or hesitation, you can trust us. You can come, bring your family, bring your kids, bring your parents, bring your grandparents, bring your uncles, bring your best friends. This is for everybody, and you don't have to worry about it. See, guys like on Bob Iger's level, that's how they think. They think in those terms. Now you want to bring into it a Deadpool. Do you just smash to pieces that trust, that image, that branding you have spent over 10 years carefully cultivating? You just throw it all out the window? Now you're telling people, okay, you can't trust our brand. It's an individual case-by-case basis, people. You can't trust our brand. Bob Iger's smarter than that. So he knows, hey, we believe that there is room to make R-rated material like a Deadpool. We see that there is an audience hunger for this type of stuff. It can be successful. And we think we can do that, Bob Iger says. But he also says, because he's the smartest guy in the room, he also says, we just have to make sure we brand it very differently. We just have to make sure that it's under a different label. That it's not Marvel, it's not Disney, it's something else. We can create that content, still maintain, put a different label on it, put it under a different heading, and still maintain our MCU brand that we have worked over 10 years to cultivate that trust with our audience, say our movies are for everybody, and this is something different over here. So that way, it's the best of both worlds. We still get Deadpool movies, we can still get R-rated material, but they still protect their Marvel and MCU brand that they've cultivated and managed for over a decade. Bob Iger doesn't think people are dumb. Bob Iger's just smarter than everybody else. And he just knows that that's important stuff. Managing your brand and managing your brand's relationship with your audience and your customers is of the highest priority for the people who do not make millions of dollars, but rather for the people who are responsible for making billions of dollars. He doesn't think people are dumb. He just recognizes that he has a responsibility to make sure that this brand relationship with his customers and the relationship that's there stays 100% intact, because it's important. And we as film fans have to get that. We have to understand that. But look, people like you and me, certainly me, we don't have to think on that level. We just think on the level of, oh, Deadpool, cool. I don't have to worry about managing a $200 billion company and its relationship with its millions of fans around the world. I just think I want to see Deadpool talking about Happy Women's Day. You know, that's all we have to think about. That's all I have to think about. But there are people like an Alan Horn. There are people like Rothman, and there are people like Hamada, and there are people like these guys, like Bob Iger, who have to think on much higher levels. And how to manage their brands. It's super key. It's super important. And that's why this is an issue. And yeah, it ain't because Bob Iger thinks we're dumb. No. It's just he understands messaging, and he understands brand, and he understands the relationship between the brand and the messaging and your customer base. It's important. It's why Disney is the most successful kid on the block. And we got to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. Anyway, I went on long about that, but I thought that was important to talk about. So anyway, there's my take on that, Cornflakes. There's my take. All right. Richard Karate writes, better faction, DX or NWO in your opinion? Ooh, I'm a bigger fan of DX, but NWO was probably more influential. There's a great documentary you can find called The Monday Night Wars that really breaks down the whole battle between Monday Night Raw of, the WWE and Nitro of the once WCW, and how that all evolved. NWO was a big part of that. Now, so was DX. DX was my favorite one, but NWO was probably more important, so on that level, I'll give the edge there. Richard Karate writes, have you heard about the Godzilla director wanting an Avengers and Godzilla crossover? Your thoughts? That's ridiculous. And he probably wasn't sitting there, hey, I want everybody to know I've given a lot of thought to this. I want to see Avengers and Godzilla crossover. It was just more of a comment made. No, it would be absolutely ridiculous, Richard. It would be totally preposterous. Let's see. Richard Karate writes, if Shazam makes enough money to justify a sequel, will we finally see The Rock as Black Adam in Shazam 2? Oh God, one can only hope, because I'm ready to give up hope on it altogether. It's been so many years since they announced Rock as Black Adam, and then nothing for years and years and years and years. I will go out on a limb and say yes. And here's a beautiful thing about it. Going back to something somebody asked earlier about $100 million films. They made this movie for pretty cheap. They made Shazam, I believe the budget was $90 million. That means this movie doesn't even need to make $300 million to break even. How often can you say that about big comic book films? This movie is going to be profitable. Now, how profitable? I don't know, but it's going to be profitable. And the critics love it, and the audiences are going to love it. They're going to make a sequel. And hopefully it's finally time that we get to see The Rock as Black Adam. Hopefully. All right. Zane Zamros. And first of all, Zane, thank you so much that's a really big super chat. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate you supporting the channel that way. Thanks, man. We all appreciate it. Zane writes, more epic fantasy movies. Finally saw King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, and I enjoyed it. I am hoping He-Man will be a fun adventure. What do you think of a reimagining of Never-Ending Story, Krull, Dragon Slayer, even Willow? Well, I'm not going to go into every single one of them, obviously. Look, right now, I'm just hoping they're doing something with He-Man, because this kid they're putting forward is saying, this is our He-Man. I'm like, what? That ain't He-Man. I still think there's a good possibility here that kid's going to be Prince Adam. And then when he transforms into He-Man, it's going to be a different actor with a totally different body type and all that kind of stuff. Look, I normally don't care what a character looks like, but He-Man looking like He-Man is kind of a key essential part of who he is. Like whether or not Wolverine has brown hair or black hair, whether this guy is 6'4" or 6'1", whether that character has green eyes or blue eyes, I couldn't give a crap. It's about the character. But there are some key essential elements. Like you can't have Puck. For those of you who know anything about Alpha Flight and it's that character Puck, if you're gonna have Puck, he can't be 6'3", right? You can't have Puck be 6'3". You just can't. That's a key essential part of who the character is. That's a very important part to who the character is. Wolverine is short in the comic books, but that's not a key essential element to who and what he is. So getting Hugh Jackman, who is 6 foot plus, that's fine. But He-Man's He-Man. This kid ain't He-Man. But if he's Prince Adam, then that kind of works. I also really liked Legend of the Sword. What do I think about a reimagining of these other things? I don't know. Krull, it doesn't have that nostalgia factor to work for it. Dragon Slayer doesn't either. Willow's an interesting one. Willow, I think you could do a reimagining of Willow. I think that's probably the biggest one that would have the most potential in my eyes, at any rate. Because that's a story that I think translates really well. And by the way, if you've never seen some of the behind-the-scenes stuff on Willow, go watch some of the behind-the-scenes stuff of Willow, because there's some hilarious stuff that went on the set of Willow, ladies and gentlemen. Some absolutely hysterical stuff you should go and check out, because there's some really good stories there. But, you know, I love epic fantasy movies. I have a soft spot for them. There was a big feeling, like when Lord of the Rings came out, Zane, there was a thought that the success of Lord of the Rings was going to usher in a new golden age for the epic sword and sorcery kind of fantasy films. What actually happened was the reverse, though. It intimidated studios from trying it because they were all afraid they were going to get looked at as a poor man's Lord of the Rings. And so we never really got that genre re-kick off. I would love to see a new era of that genre return so badly. I love that genre. I want to see more. They're working on a Dungeons and Dragons movie. Maybe that'll be the one to bring it in, but I don't know, man. Here's hoping, Zane. Here's hoping. Thanks for sending that in, man. Okay. Wesley Cunningham writes, "Hey, John, saw Us last night, and while there are plenty of unanswered questions, movie as a whole still worked great to great effect for me. I really liked Us. I did. I did not like it as much as Get Out. I thought the ending was a really convoluted, made no sense, a lot of weaknesses ending. I know a lot of people are raving about the ending, and that's great. I actually thought there are so many plot holes in that ending that made absolutely no sense whatsoever, that it kind of took the film down a few pegs for me. But that's just the ending. The rest of the film is really quite enjoyable. And I found myself feeling the tension, and Lupita Nyong'o, if the Academy Awards were being given out tomorrow, just give her the damn award for Best Actress. She's insanely good in this. I love Winston Duke in it as well. The kids were great. It's a really good, enjoyable film. Again, to me, it's not on the same level as Get Out, particularly because I thought they botched the ending. I don't think they stuck the landing on it, but overall, really quite good, enjoyable film. I recommend everybody, and did great this week. Made like $70 million this weekend, which is awesome. Richard Karate writes, "I love the Billy Zane superhero movie, The Phantom. It's so silly, but so fun as well. Wish we could get a big screen remake of it. What are your thoughts?" I don't know, man. I mean, It to me, a little bit earlier, Richard, we talked about guilty pleasures. To me, The Phantom was a little bit of guilty pleasure. I don't know that there's a lot of stock in remaking that one. Not in this era of superhero movies. I don't know. Again, I got a bit of a kick out of it, but sometimes for the wrong reasons. Like I said, to me, it more falls into the category of guilty pleasure. I don't think if you remade it, it would have any success. I mean, look, it's Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone, right? You take anything, you give it a great script with a great director and a great vision, and then anything can work, even Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone. So there's that as well. But just on its pure surface, if I was a studio head, I wouldn't greenlight another Phantom remake. Not in the age that we're in right now. I don't think it would work. But again, man, hey, I'll watch The Phantom again just because I get a little bit of a guilty kick out of it, but that's not enough to justify a remake, I don't think. So maybe I'm wrong. That's just my opinion on it, though, Richard. That's just my opinion on it. Let's see. Apex writes, "Will Captain Marvel trolls haters say Warner Brothers pays critics now?" Again, that was kind of brought up later. I'm sure they will, because they're not hypocrites, right? If critics give superhero movies a positive review, that means they're paid off, right? Right? So I'm sure these sites won't be hypocrites. I'm sure they will follow through their logic and insist that Warner Brothers is paying off critics now. So we'll see how that turns out. I mean, again, and with Wonder Woman too, they clearly paid off the critics for Wonder Woman, right? Right? Anyway, Sea Spice writes, Shazam, loved it. Climax felt endless, but I still love the acting, humor, and heart. My bud didn't even know the film existed. I hope it does well, dude. I think it's going to do well. It's not going to be $1 billion film, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be. The fact is, they made this film financially responsible. They spent like $90 million on it. It's going to break even at around $300 million, which means this is going to be a profitable movie, a big hit for them. Obviously, already the critics love it. The fans who've seen it are loving it. I had a great time with it. It's my second favorite DCU film now, just behind Man of Steel. I put it ahead of Aquaman. I put it ahead of Wonder Woman. I put it ahead of all the other ones as well. I even liked, as much as I like Captain Marvel, I think I like Shazam a little bit more. I think I like Shazam a little bit more. It's a fun, wonderful film. Dudes, we're going to have movie theaters here in a couple of weeks where Captain Marvel's still probably going to be in theaters. So we are going to have movies here pretty soon. A movie theater world where you're going to be able to go to your local movie theater and have a choice of 3 worth watching good comic book movies all at once. Captain Marvel, Shazam, and Avengers Endgame all at the same time. I'm getting kind of chills. The hair on the old arm is standing up now. I love that so much. It's so great. I love that we have both of these films right now, and they're both great. They're both fun. They're both well worth the watch. But yeah, man, Shazam was great. I had such a good time at that movie. Okay, Robert Smith writes, assuming the MCU is somehow reset because of Endgame, which character that has died would you bring back? For me, it would be Quicksilver. Quicksilver was whatever. Honestly, look, I love the Quicksilver character in general, but the Quicksilver they gave us was whatever. It's a little bit of a throwaway character. And considering nobody else in the MCU actually dies, who else do you bring back? I mean, we already know Loki's getting his own show. Vision is getting a show with Scarlet Witch, and we know Vision's coming back. I mean, they've never really killed anybody except Quicksilver. So who else is there to bring back? I don't know. The Howling Commandos? I mean, when it comes to major characters, they just don't kill anybody. Maybe Thor's mom, but that's a secondary or third level character at most. Have Rene Russo come back to play Thor and Loki's mom? I don't know. There's just not many options other than Quicksilver, and I don't even think Quicksilver's that big of a one. But that's just me, Robert. That's just me. I just don't see there being a lot of other options to do it. Aaron H. writes, the last scene of Shazam made me happy and curious. Yep, and we can't talk about it, Aaron, unfortunately, but it did for me too. Ed Garm 12 writes, hey, John, big fan from Arizona. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I visited Arizona a couple times, had a great time out there. As a matter of fact, I remember I went out there for the press junket. One of my favorite press junkets I ever attended. I went to Arizona for the press junket of John Carter of Mars, or they just called it John Carter. Had a fabulous time out there, man. I really enjoyed that. I've wanted to get out there and watch some hockey games. I really should. Richard Karate writes, who would win in a fight, Magneto versus Thanos? It all depends on who's writing it. It all depends on who's writing it. In the comic books, remember, in the Age of Apocalypse story, Age of Apocalypse comes down to this big, epic fight between Apocalypse and Magneto that the movie X-Men Apocalypse very poorly tried to recreate. Anyway, the big climax of the entire huge cross-title run story of Age of Apocalypse came down to a fight between Magneto and Apocalypse. And it was awesome. And spoiler alert, Magneto wins. It's amazing. So, Magneto versus Thanos, I mean, I don't know. It all depends on who's writing it. If an X-Men writer is writing it, probably Magneto. If a Avengers writer is writing it, maybe Thanos. But theoretically speaking, man, that glove is made out of metal. So Magneto's go, boom, pull it off his hand, done. And then he uses Then Magneto just go, oh, the metal armor you're wearing. Okay, I'm going to use that metal armor you're wearing to dig into you and rip you apart. Like this. But then, you know, if an Avengers guy is writing it, maybe he could write it a bunch of different ways that Thanos wins the fight too. It all depends on who's writing it. It always comes down to me. If I'm writing it, Magneto wins the fight. But that's because Magneto's my all-time favorite comic book character. All-time favorite comic book character is Magneto. So Magneto, if I'm writing it, probably wins that fight. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, just saw Spielberg's Night Gallery episode. Imagine being a young newbie director and being given Joan Crawford to work with. I haven't seen that one myself. That would be intimidating, to say the least. But Spielberg to me is the GOAT. He's the absolute GOAT. As a matter of fact, it's everybody and then there's Steven Spielberg by a mile. Like by a mile. Not just because of the great films on his resume. Lots of directors have great films on their resume. But Steven Spielberg has a huge list of all-time great iconic films on his resume that also jump around from different genres, like completely different films from each other, right? It is nuts when you look at the films that he's directed. And it goes everywhere from adventure to period piece to dramatic to comedic to sci-fi he's done it all. And he's done them all with amazing effect. And yeah, so I mean, but anyway, I can just get going on Spielberg all the time, Ryan. All right, James Colazzo writes, if new villain in Endgame, another Avenger movie. Huh? If new villain in Endgame, another Avenger movie. I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking, James. If there's a new villain in Endgame, then they probably deal with him in Endgame. That's what I'm guessing. And we're going to eventually get another Avengers movie anyway. So are you asking if we get a new Avenger, a new villain in Endgame, will that be the villain for the next Avengers? I doubt it. Because if they do introduce a new villain in Endgame, they're probably going to deal with that villain in Endgame. And then whenever the next Avengers movie comes out, that will probably be a new villain for them to deal with then. That's just my guess. All right, Jacob Werman writes, if not aging, would be a new power for Magneto. How do you explain Michael Fassbender's Magneto looking the same for almost 40 years? This is a plot hole, plot device, whatever. It's not that's just not a big deal. That's just them not doing it well or not doing it right or not aging them appropriately. But that's the problem with the film. It's really not an issue. If you're rebooting X-Men now, though, you just can't do that. You got to do it properly, and you just can't do that. I mean, Fox right now is playing fast and loose. But remember, Fox, I've always told you guys this. In the hallowed halls of Fox Studios, etched in marble on one of the walls is the phrase, continuity schmontinuity. I've always told you guys that. With Fox, with their X-Men universe, it's continuity schmontinuity. They don't give a crap about continuity. And they don't care about anything making sense. And they don't care about how one film relates to another film. They never have. They have constantly broken their own canon over and over and over again ever since the first X-Men film. Continuity, schmontinuity. Marvel does not share that philosophy of continuity, schmontinuity. So yeah, it's a continuity, schmontinuity issue that here we are, these characters are supposed to be a couple of decades later, and they still kind of look the same. Continuity, schmontinuity. They've never cared about keeping everything in canon. They've never cared. That's why in one movie, Tyler Mane is Sabretooth, and he's a kind of, I'm Sabretooth. And then in another movie, wait a minute, Sabretooth is suddenly Liev Schreiber? Wait a minute, who is now Wolverine's brother? What? In one movie, this kind of creepy guy is Caliban. Now in Logan, that guy is Caliban? And then in one movie, Charles is dead. And then another movie, oh, look, Charles is back. Are we going to bother trying to explain that? No, we're just going to go with it? Okay, fine. And that's the thing with Fox. With the X-Men's thing, it's been continuity, schmontinuity from day one. They don't care about whether one thing makes sense in one movie and not to another. They don't care. And to some degree, that's worked for them because they've always just cared about trying to make a good individual movie, and sometimes they succeed. Often they've succeeded, and sometimes they've failed. But Disney doesn't have a continuity, schmontinuity philosophy. Marvel and Kevin Feige do not have a continuity, schmontinuity philosophy. They believe in canon, and they believe in continuity. And if you're going to follow that, then you got to do it a certain way. Fox has never cared about continuity. They've never cared. So that's why, like, Logan is not in continuity with anything else they've done. It's just kind of the way it is. So just because Fox has ignored massive plot holes of continuity issues, that doesn't matter to them. Marvel, it does matter. So it's a totally different thing, Jacob. But, I mean, your observation is correct. But as I've told you guys for years, continuity schmontinuity is Fox's philosophy when it comes to the X-Men. That will not be Kevin Feige's philosophy, so you got to do it differently. Dare I say, you got to do it right. So that's kind of my approach to that at any rate. All right, Luke Blackwell writes, Wonder Boy versus Showtime, your thoughts? Great fight. Look, Steven had that fight. He was picking Anthony Pettis apart. He was, like, you saw Pettis' face as every minute went by. Pettis' face was getting more and more busted up, more and more bloodied, all that kind of stuff. Like, Wonder Boy wasn't dominating the fight, but he was picking him apart, and he was winning that fight. But then, you know, Pettis, Showtime, did what he does. He found an opening. He did something totally explosive and totally unexpected. That little thing where he ate that kick to his bottom ribs, which you know hurt him. He feigned the crumple and then exploded off the cage with that cross. It was beautifully done. It was a stunning, exciting ending. I feel bad for Wonder Boy Stephen Thompson, but he'll be back. And look, I still believe Stephen Thompson's the better fighter, but Anthony Pettis does what he does, man. He found an explosive way to turn the tables on a fight, and it was a hell of an entertaining fight. It was a hell of an entertaining fight. All right, Wesley Cunningham writes, 1 out of 2. Gotta say, I agree with you on Gotham. Best illustrated by this episode where Butch, Mooney's bodyguard, had to kill his friend for betraying her, then 2 or something. Spent the day catching up and talking with him before a sad mafia-style execution in his car by the doc. Oh, I remember that episode. Yeah, that was like season 2 or something like that. Maybe season 3. Execution by the docks. After that, I was just like, why would they push this aside for Diet Batman? I completely agree. Wesley, you just summed it up perfectly. See, this has been my problem with Gotham, okay, as a show. Why Gotham has been so hit and miss to me. Gotham works when it focuses, and you guys have probably heard me say this, but that's a great illustration, Wesley. Gotham works when it's about James Gordon and the crime in Gotham. When the show focused on those things, this show really hummed, and it worked great. And it was those episodes that I really enjoyed. And even having a young Bruce Wayne who just had his family tragedy, you know, a little bit of that with Alfred peppered in there, that was really good too. When this show to me felt pathetic was when they made it a Batman Light show. There's Batman and Batman Light. And they made it a Batman Light show. And all of a sudden, it wasn't this gritty crime drama about the city of Gotham pre-era of Batman. Suddenly it became about Batman stuff. Everything became about Batman. And ooh, look everybody, little Bruce Wayne is wearing a mask and a cape. Ooh, he becomes Batman. Did you know that? Yeah, we do know that, but this isn't supposed to be Batman. This is Gotham. And when they did that, and then they brought in the Joker stuff, and then they brought... and look, and I was fascinated when they had Edward Nygma as a part of the police force. That was great. I even loved having a younger Penguin when he was on the lower rung, the lower rungs of the criminal underworld and working his way up. I appreciated all of that. And when they focused on that was great. And that stuff you're talking about, the scene where he had to kill the other guy in the car and they were friends, that to me, Wesley, really embodies what was great about Gotham. When Gotham was really ticking, when Gotham was really finding its stride, was when it was focusing on that stuff. You know, what am I trying to say here? When they focused on the right things, the right results happened, right? Even when they were focusing on Falcone and all, like, that's when the show was really good. Once they focused on the kid becoming Batman and all the various pantheon of the Batman villains and when it just felt like Batman Light, and it felt weak and kind of sad, and it turned me off. And that's why I haven't even watched a single episode this season. I caught up to the end of last season, but I haven't watched a single episode of this season so far. Mostly because it just all became a Batman Light show. They abandoned the identity of what Gotham was supposed to be when they started, and they made it a desperate attempt to be a Batman show, and to me it didn't work, and that, Wesley, is a great example of why to me. Anyway, thanks for sharing that, man. Thomas Ortiz writes, greetings and salutations, John. Well, thank you so much, Thomas. Greetings and salutations to you as well, my friend. You know, a lot of people have asked me, why did I start doing greetings and salutations? I have literally done greetings and salutations since the very first episode of my very first podcast, the Movie Blog Audio Edition, which was, by the way, the first movie topic podcast in the world. I was doing the Movie Blog Audio Edition before the term podcast was even coined. And it was the world's first podcast based on movies and movie news. And the very first episode, I still remember, it was when we were talking about Brandon Routh was cast to be Superman. That was the very first topic we talked about. Brandon Routh was cast as Superman. Very first one. And I remember from that very first episode, I used greetings and salutations. Where I got that from, and why I still do it to this day, when I start off greetings and salutations, it is my homage. And if any of you know him, please pass this on to him and let him know. But there is a Canadian sports broadcaster, particularly in Toronto. He was doing stuff on the Fan 590 in Toronto, and now he's nationwide. His name's Bob McCown. And I loved listening to Bob McCown. I used to listen to his primetime sports. I used to listen to him every single day. People would listen to music in their cars. I listened to Bob McCown. I listened to sports talk radio because I'm a big sports guy. If I wasn't doing movie stuff, I'd be working for ESPN or TSN or Sports Center, Sportsnet, whatever. I'd be working for one of those. I'd be doing sports talk if I wasn't doing movie talk. And one of my big influences was Bob McCown. And Bob McCown started his shows with greetings and salutations. That's how he started. So when I started podcasting, I really got a lot of my influence on movie talk from how Bob McCown and many other great sports talk people as well. But I always wanted to bring how sports talk talked about sports to movie talk. Because movie talk for a long time, and I'm going on way too long about this, I know, but just indulge me for a second. Movie talk at the time, well, it's always kind of done the stuff I would read from a very artistic point of view. And I appreciated that, and it's valuable, and it needs to be there. But I always remembered that when me and my buddies would talk about movies, we sounded like sports fans, right? We talked like sports fans about movie stuff. And I always thought if I did a show, I wanted to bring that to it. I wanted to bring sports fandom into how we talk about movies. And so when I started the first podcast, I kind of, as an homage to Bob McCown, because he was one of my big influences, I started off my show with greetings and salutations, and I have done it ever since. I think we did our first one in 2005. Might have been a little bit earlier than that, but I've been doing it for almost 15 years. And I always will, because that's how I started. And so if any of you are fans in Toronto or the area, you know who Bob McCown is, pass on to him. Say, hey, there's this dude who's been doing the movie stuff for a long time. Do you know he starts off his show because of you? Because he was influenced by you? Pass it on to him. I'd like that. Anyway, just a little story you didn't ask for, Thomas. So there you go. That's how I started with greetings and salutations. All right. James O'Rourke writes, never realized how sad the Spider-Man story is. Mom, Dad, and Uncle Ben all gone. No word of grandparents that I know of. Plus one left isn't even blood. Aunt May? Isn't she blood? Is Aunt May not blood? I think Aunt May is blood, isn't she? Or actually was... I guess Ben was the brother to his dad or his mom. I can't remember which. So Aunt May is aunt by marriage. So yeah, that's true. But hey, man, family's family. Family's family. Family is blood. even if not literally blood, family's blood. I got people I consider, I've got friends, but then I have people in my life I consider family. And family is family. So there's that. But yeah, the story of Peter Parker, really, James, when you really stop and sit down and think about it, the story of Peter Parker is a sad story, man. It really is. And it just compounds more when you get into his life as Spider-Man as well, whether it's the death of Gwen Stacy and others. I mean, you're right, dude. It's an observation that some of us forget to make sometime. His is a very tragic, sad story. It really is. Lone Wolf X6 writes, my name is Matthew Murdoch, and I am the blindest man alive. To the outside world, I'm an ordinary lawyer, but secretly I fight crime, and I'm the only one blind enough to stop them. I am Daredevil. Man, if they did a new Daredevil show on CW, I would pay somebody good money to start. I am Matthew Murdoch, and I am the blindest man alive. Okay, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I love superheroes. One of the great things about Daredevil is I cannot think of a lot of other superheroes that they have what many would call a standard human handicap, blindness, and take that as a traditionally understood handicap and turn it into almost the basis of the identity and the power structure of a superhero in Daredevil. I love the way they do that. And I wish there were more characters like that. I don't know how you do them. You have to be very creative in how you do it. But I really love the way they do that. I think that's actually really cool. But anyways, and I'm the only one blind enough to stop. Okay, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, Seth Mecklenburg writes, Captain Marvel is at 910 million worldwide, going for 1.05 to 1.1 billion by the end. Hope Shazam can crush now too. Man, I hope Shazam can crush. I don't expect Shazam to do that well, but it doesn't have to. I hope it's a big success, and I think it will be. I mean, look, to be a success, all it has to do is get over 300 million. That's all it's got to do is get over 300 million, and it's a success. And I think it's going to do that in its sleep. I'm telling you, the positive critical buzz, the positive word of mouth, I think it's going to get there. Not many films this year, at least, have deserved success like I think Shazam deserves success. They've delivered a really fun, entertaining time at the movies. I think people are going to latch onto it, and I think it's going to do really well, Seth. I really do, because it deserves it. John Demoto writes, only about a month till Avengers Endgame. Dude, it's so great. I just got to see Captain Marvel. Then I just got to watch Shazam. Now we got Avengers Endgame. It is a great time, man. Then we got let's not forget about Hellboy. I think Hellboy looks really good too. It is a great time to be a comic book movie fan, my friends. It is a really great time to be a comic book movie fan right now. It's almost giddy. Josh Goldenberg, 4022 writes, went to see Shazam last night, and I thought it was a charming, heartfelt, funny, and entertaining. I loved it. There's a lot of the comic book movies, the great ones, super exciting, like on the edge of your seat, thrilling and blah, blah, with good humor and entertainment along the way. Not a lot have delivered really this particular combination, Josh, in a while, of the charming, heartfelt, all that kind of stuff, combined with really funny and entertaining and all that kind of stuff too. It's great. And look, I'll tell you right now, the action isn't the best action. It's good. The action in it's good. But the strength of this movie isn't found in its action sequences. The action sequences are fine. The strength of this is in their characters. And the strength is in the heart. And the strength is in the humor. And it's all those things that carry this movie. That it didn't need the best action sequences in the world. It didn't need a Captain America Civil War airport scene to put it over. It was already over. And that's a special thing about this movie, and I really appreciate it, and I love this movie, man. I cannot wait to watch this movie again. Chris Parsons writes, over under 40%. The Falcon is destroyed in episode 9. I think somebody asked me that exact question before. I'm going to take the over 40%. I think there's a really good chance the Falcon finally gets destroyed. I hope it's done in a glorious, blaze of glory kind of way, but I will take the over 40% that the Falcon gets destroyed finally. Apex Caliber writes, Tony Steve reconciliation scene in Endgame from above. I can't remember what it is we're talking about, Caliber. All I know is that I'm really looking forward to the Tony and Steve reconciliation scene. Absolutely more than anything else in Endgame. That's the thing I'm looking forward to. I cannot wait to see that. Wesley Cunningham writes, about how long till the Disney deal pays for itself? Oh, a long time. Long time. This was a long game. This was the long game play by Disney. This wasn't spend $5 now to make $10 tomorrow. This was $71 billion they paid. We got a ways to go before they break even on this. But that is what Disney's playing. They have planted seeds for the long term. This was not a plan about next year. This was not a plan about 3 years from now. This was a plan about where is Disney positioned a decade from now? Where is Disney positioned 12 years from now? Disney and Bob Iger always know it's not about getting the win today. It's about positioning yourself for the win tomorrow and many wins to come. And yeah, we're a long ways off from this deal. For Disney realizing $71 billion in results from this, we're a long ways off. But in the long term, this is going to be defining for Disney. It's a long-term thing, a very, very, very long-term thing. Apex Caliber writes, Ray Fisher out as Cyborg, film acts, thoughts. I mean, it's really no surprise and it's really no secret. I mean, there were massive changes made in philosophies. Walter Hamada came in and took over the DC universe. He made some changes and that was kind of a no-brainer. Look, I didn't think they did the best job in the world with Cyborg and Justice League. Ray Fisher is a trained stage actor. He would have done great in the role had he been given the opportunity. But it's really not a surprise. You're going to have the opportunity for a recycled idea of Cyborg and different properties moving forward. So I really wasn't surprised by. I mean, we all knew. We all knew that Cyborg was getting axed. We all knew this. Everybody did. So it's really not a surprise for any of us, Apex. Mark Garon writes, look, John, I like Captain Marvel, but Bree said many racist comments. That's what upset people. Also, the huge censorship of many negative reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Mark, listen. Number one, Brie Larson said no racist things. She didn't say a single racist thing, not one. A lot of the things that people saying she said, she never actually said. So let's be clear on that. Also, there was no censorship of negative reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. There was no censorship. What happened was you started getting a lot of fake stuff being put up on Rotten Tomatoes before the movie even came out. You had more reviews in the first 3 days on Captain Marvel than you did on Avengers Infinity War in their entire run. That is somebody gaming the system, and you'd have to be blind not to recognize that. So Rotten Tomatoes, they did what they had to do. Look, somebody's gaming the system, and we're going to put an end to it. So number one, Brie Larson never said anything racist. Number two, nobody was censoring anybody. Rotten Tomatoes is just stopping people from gaming the system. And that's just the reality of it, Mark. That's the reality of it. Anyway, Tyler Yeats writes, rewatched Ant-Man and the Wasp, and it definitely looks like Rocket is walking into Hank Pym's house that they put on the beach at the end of the movie. Maybe. I'd have to look at that again. I'm not sure about that, but I have to look at that again. That would certainly be interesting. Look, it would be consistent, and then Tyler repeats in that Endgame trailer, it would be consistent with the thought that, look, quantum realm stuff is going to have a big deal to do in this movie. Whether that involves reality bending, whether that involves time travel, who knows? But quantum realm stuff, who is the world's foremost expert on quantum realm? Hank Pym. So if it is, and I don't know that it is, Tyler, but if it is, that would be consistent with that, right? So it would make sense. It would make sense. I'll have to go back and watch it again just to see if maybe that's true, but it would make sense if that's what they're doing, right? Okay. Chris Parker. And guys, I'm just going to let you know, we've now gone 3 hours. At some point here, pretty soon, I'm going to take another break because, again, glass is empty now. I got to go refill the glass. It's been an hour and a half since my last break. The throat's starting to get a little bit sore here. Chris Parker writes, Hackman is one of my favorite, oh, absolutely, Gene Hackman. Hackman is one of my favorite actors, incredible dramatic actor, but even in comedies like Birdcage or low-grade stuff like Heartbreaker, I unapologetically love Heartbreakers, by the way. And welcome to Mooseport. The dude was hilarious, incredible comedic timing, favorite role of his. Oh, God. Look, French Connection is a huge one. It's hard not to go Lex Luthor. I mean, he basically, for a lot of people, for generations, defined what people thought of when they thought of Lex Luthor. For a lot of people forever, when they thought Lex Luthor, they thought Gene Hackman. So it's hard not to go there. French Connection was a major thing. I hate to be stereotypical and everything. I'm going to go with him as Lex Luthor in Superman. I'm going to go with him as Lex Luthor in the Superman stuff. That's the thing to me that really stood out. That's when I think of Gene Hackman, I got to admit, that's where my head first goes. Maybe it's not his greatest work, but I got to admit, that's where my head goes when I think about it, Chris. And one of the all-time greats. All-time greats. And I don't know how he's doing these days. Hold on a second. How old is... I don't know how he's doing health-wise these days. He's about to turn 90. He retired a long time ago. Years ago, he retired. I would love to see him come back to do something else. But again, once again, I don't know what else he's done. He hasn't done a movie in almost 15 years. But he is one of the all-time greats. One of the all-time best. Oh, my God. How did I forget about Unforgiven? He's so good in Unforgiven. Oh, my God. He's so great in Unforgiven. I mean, he's Gene Hackman, man. He's just one of the best to ever do it. One of the best there is. It's going to be really sad. I don't know how he's doing health-wise. I only know it's going to be a really sad day when we find out that Gene Hackman passes away. But, man, I would love to see him come back for one more thing. Oh, I would love to see him come back for one more thing. Okay. Scrapzilla54 writes, do you think Godzilla 2 has a chance of earning a visual effects Oscar or at least a nomination? I don't believe it will, but Shape of Water got 2. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. I can't offer the slightest opinion on whether I think, does it have a chance of getting a visual effects Oscar? Of course it does. It's going to be a visually effects heavy movie, so it has a chance. But maybe it doesn't deserve it. I haven't seen the movie. I've just seen a couple of shots and trailers. That's not enough to go on. So it's virtually impossible for me to sit here and talk about the odds and chances of Godzilla getting a best visual effects Oscar when I don't even see the movie. For all I know, the visual effects in this movie suck. I mean, they might be terrible. They might be the best of the year, but we don't know. So I can't speak to its Oscar chances when I haven't seen the movie. Do I think the visual effects in this movie are the best of the year? I haven't seen the movie. How do you think that apple pie is the best apple pie they've ever made? I haven't tasted that apple pie. I tell me what you think. I don't know what I think. I've not tasted the apple pie. Trivia fact about me, I actually don't like apple pie. Anyway. So it's impossible to skate. All I'll say is that, look, it's clearly got a lot of visual effects, so clearly it'll have a chance. That's all that matters, is the visual effects. Are they good enough? And we simply don't know yet, so we'll have to find out. Dancing Dog 60 sends in super chat and writes, casting Shang-Chi actor or martial arts? Oh, actor. Absolutely an actor. Hopefully somebody with a little bit of both. But you're talking about somebody carrying a movie. Movie is the most important thing. You can get stunt doubles, you can get all that kind of stuff. So get an actor who hopefully has a lot of background in martial arts as well, and then put in stunt doubles when you need to and all that kind of stuff. But you have to start with a good actor. You have to start with a good actor. Because if you don't, your movie isn't going to be worth crap. Start with a good actor. When you don't, you get He-Man and the Masters of the Universe starring Dolph Lundgren. Start with a good actor. So I believe that Kevin Feige knows that, and they will get somebody who's a good actor who hopefully also has a good background in martial arts and can pull off a lot of stuff. Then it's all about your stunt choreographer. It's all about your fight choreographer after that. But yeah, start with an actor. Absolutely 100%. Bam86 writes, John, I was in the same screening as you. Really? Right when Shazam's credits started, this kid in the theater yelled, that's right, very much did. And it was effing perfect. That's right. So for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, Bam, who apparently was in the same theater as me, because that did happen. Right near the end of the film, as I think as the credits started to roll or whatever, like right at the start, just as the credits started to roll, you heard this little kid in the background yell, Shazam! And the whole theater laughed. It was a great moment. It was now, if it was some, guy in his 40s yelling, Shazam! It wouldn't have been as funny, but some little kid who clearly just had a great time watching the movie, they started yelling, Shazam! The whole theater laughed. It was a great moment, Bam. I really enjoyed that. And yeah, you were in the same theater as me. Gabe Schembarger writes, haven't seen Supernatural, but was watching Doom Patrol and discovered Mark Sheppard. I now love him. Dude, not only Supernatural, which is where he really was great, but also fantastic in my all-time favorite show, Battlestar Galactica. The Ronald Moore version of Battlestar Galactica. Sheppard is in that. He's fantastic in that. Absolutely aces. And I am now going to get the Warner Brothers DC streaming service just because I want to see Doom Patrol, just because Mark Sheppard is in it, because I love this guy. He was also, by the way, for all you guys who like Firefly, he was in the pilot episode of Firefly. Small role, but he's like the gangster that they're on the run from. That was Mark Sheppard. I love this guy. Cannot wait to see that. Okay. CMJ World writes, will you do an Us spoiler discussion? Maybe. I usually won't do spoiler discussions for movies that a lot of people didn't see, because what's the point of having a spoiler discussion if not enough people saw it? But the movie made $70 million opening weekend. I don't know. Maybe tomorrow I do an Us spoiler discussion. I'll think about that. I'll honestly, CMJ, I didn't think about it, but now maybe I'm thinking I should. Because 70 million worth of people saw it. That means a lot of you saw it. So maybe I should do a spoiler discussion. I might do that tomorrow night. I'll let you know. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Let me think about it a little bit, but that's actually not a bad idea. Stubble McShave writes, is Star Wars Episode 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 independent movies? Technically speaking, yes. Yeah. Technically speaking, they are the most successful independent films ever made. Yeah, because Lucas, yes, they are independent films. They were distributed by a big distributor, but they were produced by this little company. Andrew Jones writes, hey, John, my name is Andrew. It is my 31st birthday today. Happy birthday, Andrew. It's great when your birthday's on a weekend. I hope you had a great day. I hope you continue to have a great day and have a wonderful 31st. Well, now you are starting your 32nd year. Have a wonderful 32nd year, man. And once again, happy birthday, Andrew. All right. Patrick Manis writes, Tom Holland tweeted today, Monday morning, your speculations. Sounds like another Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Probably. Or maybe Avengers Endgame Boom trailer? Maybe. I'm guessing it's another Far From Home trailer. But I have been expecting another Boom trailer from Endgame. I'm expecting one more big trailer. However, I'm suspecting that trailer doesn't drop till the tickets go on sale, which what we hear is going to be April 2nd. Maybe it'll be before that, but it's just too perfect to put out another big Avengers Endgame trailer and have it end with tickets on sale now. Boom, everybody runs to the websites buying tickets like crazy, blah, breaks all kinds of records. But who knows? But I'm thinking off the top of my head, it's another Far From Home trailer. Maybe. We'll find out. Apex Caliber writes, John, Endgame review embargo lifting April 23rd. Thoughts? Well, yes, that makes sense because I do believe that is the date of the world premiere. Again, this seems to be the same operating procedure that they went into with Infinity War. And once all of us saw Infinity War, we completely understood why they held the review embargo. Look, 99% of movies do not have big enough spoiler stuff in it to justify holding off a review. Star Wars The Force Awakens did. Infinity War did. I can only assume that Endgame does as well. It's going to be the biggest film of the year, other than maybe Lion King. But it's going to be the biggest film of the year. And all that kind of stuff. So this is the same kind of pattern they did with Infinity War, waiting until the world premiere to release the review embargo. Not surprised that that's going to be the case here. So, yep. There you go. That's my thoughts on that. Eddie Burton writes, like normally speaking, when you hold off a review embargo until like 2 or 3 days before a movie, or 1 or 2 days before a movie opens, that's a red flag that the studio doesn't believe in their film. There are a couple of exceptions. These are obviously those big exceptions. There are going to be massive spoilers in these things that they do not want to get out. So they're not even, by the way, April 23rd, that's when the first press screenings are. I can tell you that right now. April 23rd is when the first press screenings are. So it's no big surprise that that's when the review embargo lifts. So, and there's a reason for that. And Infinity War showed us that. Eddie Burton writes, do you think the only way a wrestler can get success in Hollywood is leaving WWE? Look, first and foremost, wrestlers aren't actors. Wrestlers aren't actors. Hulk Hogan tried, failed. The only person who's had any real big success was Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, but that's because that dude is bigger than life. That guy has more natural charisma than any human being ever born. I would say more than Arnold ever had. That natural built-in charisma The Rock's had. He was a superstar the day he was born. But now you're seeing Dave Bautista get a little bit of success here and there, all that kind of stuff. But wrestlers are not born to be actors. You can say wrestling is acting. Yeah, but it's a totally different kind of acting. But I mean, if you're going to become an actor, you do have to work at it full time. So maybe, but let's look, it's going to be very, very rare that the odd wrestler can become an actor. It's a different field. It's a different business, a different thing altogether. Stubble McShave writes, David F. Sandberg made a short film. Look at him now. Well, I mean, yeah, a lot of filmmakers start with making short films. I mean, almost every filmmaker you can point to started with a short film. I mean, they almost all did. But he was able to take that short film, Lights Out. He bankrolled that into... he turned that and parlayed that into a feature film of Lights Out, which is amazing, by the way. And I never would have thought that, but that short film was one of the best short films ever put on YouTube, that Lights Out. But that's where a lot of things, so that's why when people ask me, how do I get started? Well, don't wait for somebody to hire you to do something. Do your own shit. Go, grab a camera, put a couple of friends in front of it, hit record. A little while later, say cut, and there, you've made a little movie. Do your own stuff. And that's the path that David Sandberg took. And look at him now. Oh my God. Jorge Luis writes, favorite Nolan film minus Prestige. Love your show. Thank you so much, Jorge. My favorite Nolan film is actually Insomnia. And I think it's also his most underrated film. Robin Williams, Al Pacino. I love Insomnia. My favorite film of his. Absolutely. It's the one nobody else has watched. So thank you for that, Jorge. And I also love The Prestige. I like all of his movies. Andrew Jones writes, John, my national football team, Wales, won 1-0 today. I don't know what Simur am Baith means, but thank you. Thank you for that. I don't know what any of that means, but congratulations on Wales' win over, I'm guessing football. By that you mean soccer? And I know everybody's screaming at their computers right now. No, John, we mean football. Okay, I understand that. Yes. I understand. I stand corrected. But congratulations on that, man. All right. Chancey James McDuffie writes, love your work / film community of United. Thank you so much, man. Seriously, I love our community here. I love it. It's a great place with great people, having great film discussion, very encouraging. I mean, you get the odd troll, but honestly, compared to most places, it's minimal. I love the community we have here, and and thank you, Chance, for taking a moment and just saying something nice. I appreciate that very much, and that's the type of things that go into the film fan community that we have here. So thank you so much for that. Let's see. And of course, we took a big jump. Let me see how far back I got to go. There's Tyler Yeats, CMJ, Eddie Burton, Stubble McShave, Jorge, Andrew Jones, Chance. There we go. Okay. Now we're back up to Frederick Nicholas Jr. writes, what future MCU movies would you like to see? I don't care. I've had a lot of people ask me that, Frederick, and honestly, I don't care. I want to see whatever they put out next. Whatever they put out next, I'm down for. I am trying as a film fan to get out of the habit of creating my own mental check boxes. And we all do it. We all do it. And I've done it a lot. But in the last year or so, I've been trying to get out of the notion of like, what do I want to see in that movie? I'm trying not to think that. I'm trying not to think, what do I want them to do in this movie? Because I find when we as film fans make check boxes before we see a movie, we often will sabotage our own experience of the movie, because if the movie doesn't check off all the boxes we created in our head, then we're not happy with it. I've done that. I think you've done it. We all do it, right? So I'm kind of in that frame of mind right now where I'm trying to just go, you know what? Whatever they give me. I don't want to come up and think of what I want to see next or anything. I just want to see what they're going to show me and then just evaluate it and appreciate it on its own merits. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to stop doing it, because I've done that a lot as a film fan. Just as a film fan, I'm trying to move on from that. CMJ writes, no March Madness. Nope, no March Madness tournament this year. I simply don't have the time. Like I talked on my open mic last weekend, I think. Frankly, I can't keep up. I am frankly not keeping up with everything. I'm just way far too busy. And I'm having a hard time keeping up just with my current stuff. Like, there are people who go, well, what are you talking about? The John Campea Show is only like an hour and a half, so you work an hour and a half. Dude, I put in like 8 to 10 hours a day just developing the John Campea Show. And I broke down for the audience the other day, here's exactly what one of my days looks like. It starts at 5 in the morning, ends at about 6:30 at night, and that's just my regular stuff. That's not counting screenings or movie reviews or extra videos I do and stuff like that. And I really love my March Movie Madness stuff, but I just don't have time to do it. I just don't have time. I mean, I'm working on weekends, which Ann does not like. Ann is very supportive. Ann's not thrilled that I do open mics, but I know we love doing open mics, so I want to do open mics. The only time I can do them is on the weekends. So I'm even working on weekends, so I just don't have time to do them, unfortunately. So nope, this year, no March Madness. Last question, and then I'm going to go and refill my drink, guys. If you guys will indulge me, I'm going to go and refill my drink here. After Superman Steve's question, which is, John, why is it that Australia gets movies so much later than America? I just don't understand it. I don't understand it either, Superman. I've been asking that question. Look, I understand why distributors will think, hey, the best time to release this movie in this country is at this time because it'll get the most success because of trends and everything in that country in this way. Distributors want to release movies when they think they have their chance to make the most money in every individual territory. Why that usually means that Australia gets it last, I have no idea. I really don't. But I think it's terrible. And I think they should make the release windows closer and closer to each other. But yeah, bottom line, man, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is, and that really sucks. I think that really, really sucks. All right, guys, if you will indulge me, I'm going to take a 3-minute break here just to go give my voice a quick little rest. We've been going for 3 hours and 15 minutes now, so my voice is getting a little bit wrecked. So I got to go refill my drink. I will be back in 3 minutes. I will see you guys in just a moment. I'll be right back. All right, and we are back again, guys. Thank you for your indulgence as I take a little break here and there to refill my drink and keep my voice ready. Okay, let's keep things rolling now as we push towards our finish line here with Innovation Films, who writes, which would offend you more? Sorry to bother you winning in every category in the 2019 Oscars, or Best Popular Film being a permanent category. Well, listen, I hated Sorry to Bother You. I thought the film was terrible, but that's just my opinion. There's nothing to be offended at if it wins the Academy Awards. I think it was dumb, but there's nothing for me to be offended at. I hated the movie. Other people liked it. Nothing to be offended at. When it comes to, but I would be offended at the Best Part because that just undermines everything that the Academy Awards is supposed to be. So Best Popular Film and even the notion of it to me is moronic and idiotic. Other thing is just an opinion about what movie was good and wasn't, and that's fine. I will never take offense at somebody else liking a movie that I dislike. That's fine. That's being a film fan. But yeah, the popular film category, yeah, that one would offend me. So I'll take that one, Innovation Films. All right. Next one. James Wheeler writes, do you know anything about a movie that's been in development called The Last Voyage of Demeter? It has Viggo Mortensen and has Neil Marshall as the director. It's about the ship that transports Dracula. I'll be honest, no. Now I got to look it up. I know nothing about that. Let me see here. The Last Voyage of Demeter. There's really nothing on it here. It's just in development. So that means it could happen. It may not happen. It may happen or it may not happen. So other than that, I don't know. I know this. That sounds fascinating. It sounds a little bit, there was a, what was it called? There was a show on recently called The Strain. Remember that? I think it was either on Fox or FX or one of those two networks. And it kind of starts with that. Is this ship of the transportation of what they called the master, or the main vampire, and bringing the main vampire into North America to spread the virus of vampirism around. So it sounds like an interesting concept. I'd be down for that. I like Neil Marshall. Can't wait to see what he does with Hellboy. And everybody likes Viggo Mortensen, so I'd be down for it. I don't know much about it, but I would totally be down for that, James. Sounds great. Mason Hawking writes, Star Wars Episode 9, The Force goes back to... The Force Awakens, Episode 9. The Force goes back to sleep. I like that, Mason. That's funny. All right, Warren Lucas writes, this is how I look at opening weekend box office. 25% of production budget equals flop. 50% equals break even. 75% equals solid hit. And 100% equals big hit. In general, am I close? Generally, I think they're okay if you get 1/3 of your production budget. If you can get 1/3 of your production budget on your opening... Now, again... Tons of exceptions to this. This is just a basic rule of thumb. It's not a mathematical formula that is a science. Not at all. I'm just saying, generally speaking, when I, as a film fan of looking at a film's opening weekend, what I want to see is a film making at least 1/3 of its production budget on its opening weekend. Because let's face it, that's when a movie makes most of its money, is opening weekend. Now you'll have 5 or 6 weeks to try to make up that other 2/3. If you can get half or more, then you're doing pretty good. 75% hit, 100% absolute big hit. So, yeah, the one little thing I would say, though, is I'm looking for it to have a half-decent chance of breaking even is getting to around the 1/3 your production budget on your first opening weekend. If you can do that, you're on your way. Anyway, but again, that's not an exact science. Many, many, many exceptions to that. It's just, like I said, from a fan's point of view, it's a general rule of thumb. All right, Trey Gaming writes, how long until Disney Plus launches, do you think? You think we are getting close to an announcement date? Well, we have to be, because they've said it's launching in 2019. Well, we're going into the 4th month of 2019. We are 1/3 of the way into 2019. Right? Once we get into April, we're getting close to about 1/3 of being the way through the year. So it's got to come soon. It's got to come soon. I'm guessing by D23, we will know the release date. I'm going to guess it's probably going to be in November or something like that, but we'll find out soon. Within the next couple of months, I think we're going to find out. I mean, we have to. If it's launching in 2019, we got to know soon when the date is. A Trey Gaming writes, oh, that was a Trey Gaming. Sorry about that. Jeevan Gattore just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Jeevan. Appreciate that, man. Chance Oliver writes, hey, John, I've been a fan since my sophomore year of high school, and now I'm a junior in college. Well, thanks so much, Chance. Just wanted to say hello and to be the first person to tell you about Gronkowski's retirement. Wait a minute, is that true? I got to take a second to look that up. Gronk? Is that true? Yep, Ron Gronkowski just 1 hour ago announced his retirement. You know what? Good for him. Good for him. Like, the dude, he's suffered a lot of injuries lately. He's still a top-notch player. He was totally instrumental in them winning the Super Bowl, but he's got a lot of money. He's rich. Go out when you're still healthy, because he was starting, the way he played a very physical brand of football. He played a very physical brand of football. And that takes its toll, especially when you're a big guy like him. And why not? He's had so many surgeries and so many injuries. Walk away now. He probably could have played for another couple of years. Probably played at a very high level for a few years. Still been a star. But good for him to walk away at this point. I think that's great. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I'm sad, but I'm happy for him. I think so. Thank you for letting me know that. And you're right. You are the very first person to tell me about this. I did not know about this. Now I got to get a hold of my buddy Soul, who is ironically from Boston, and he and I will have to commiserate together. But, yep, good for him. I'm happy for him. All right, Jared Murray writes, why are they making a live-action Dora? Because it's a recognizable IP, and they think it will make money. It's not rocket science, my brother. It's not rocket science. It's a recognizable IP. It'll bring in the families, and it will probably make money. So when you ask why are they making a live-action Dora, I'll tell you for the same reason they make any live-action movie. More than that, for the same reason they make any movie at all. Because they think it'll make money. They think people will go out and see it and they'll make money. That's why they're doing it. And it will make money. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a movie that's going to make money. It's going to make cash, and that's what they're in this business for. All right. Magic K writes, do you think Warner Brothers is adapting Fox don't care canon formula for DC movie universe? Since Aquaman, they kind of not give reference from previous movies. No, I don't think so. Look, not giving references to previous movies is not the same as breaking canon. They really didn't do anything that overtly destroyed canon. There may be a couple little technical inconsistencies, but no, there are no way, shape, or form, at least not up till this point, have they done anything that suggests a continuity, schmontinuity attitude. Nothing they've done suggests that. Aquaman didn't reference the other ones, but that's because they're focusing on being more standalone, but they certainly didn't break canon. Maybe a couple technical inconsistencies, but nothing that you would say broke canon. So not referencing the other films is not saying continuity, schmontinuity. Contradicting major continuity issues in your new film, that's breaking continuity. So no, I don't think so. I think they're going to stay in continuity. They're just going to isolate each movie more and more. And we saw that in Aquaman. We pretty much see that in Shazam. And I think they're going to do that moving forward a little bit more. I think we're going to see Wonder Woman is going to be a very standalone, isolated movie. And that seems to be their new philosophy right now. And think what you will about that philosophy. Seems to be working. Seems to be working. All right, Apex Caliber writes, Peter's same pass as Batman, but upbeat like Soups. Peter's Bast is nothing like Batman. Nothing like Batman. Peter did see his uncle die, but that was a very different scenario and situation from Bruce's. Bruce's was still a child with his mother and his father, his whole world. And he watched them standing there be gunned down in front of his eyes. That, I would propose to you, is massively different from what Peter endured. He had tragedy, yes. There is a sadness to his story, yes. But I don't think you can compare those two stories. Those are two very, very different things with kids who are at very different stages in their lives. And one with his adoptive uncle, one with his mom and dad. And as a child, your mom and dad. I got to disagree with you on that one, Apex. I think that's a very, very different situation. Robbie DeMexican writes, was Man of Steel ahead of its time? I feel like it's more liked now than it was when it came out. Maybe, Robbie, and I think the part of the reason was, and again, I do not believe in making excuses for other people liking what I don't like, and I don't believe in making excuses for why people don't like what I do like. But what I am telling you is that when Man of Steel came out, I saw a number of critics and film fans say, I'm not making this up, this is just what I've seen them say, that the reason they didn't like it, and this does not count for everybody, just these few individuals, what I often heard them saying and writing and recording was, this isn't the Superman I grew up with. This isn't like Christopher Reeve's Superman. So they were upset at the fact that it wasn't the Superman they wanted him to be. They wanted Superman to be the 1960s Superman. You know, where, don't worry, miss, I'll get that kitty out of the tree for you. Golly, ma'am, I'll help you cross the street. Jerry Curl. I mean, and again, I'm not putting words in their mouth. That's what they said. But to me, Superman was a perfect incarnation of what the Superman tale would be had that ship that carried that baby from the destroyed world of Krypton landed here today, or at least in this era. And he grew up in this era. A young man who just realized he's an alien amongst the world. He's a god amongst men, has no idea what that means for him, and blah, blah. I thought their incarnation of that was perfect. And I think now, as the comic book movie genre has progressed, I think people are recognizing that more and more now. That is what Superman would be today in this world. That's what Superman would be. And I thought they handled it perfectly. So, you know what, Robbie? I think probably in many ways you're right. I think it was a film that was just a little bit, not like decades away, but a little bit ahead of its time. And it is refreshing for me to see the growing appreciation for this fantastic film. Man of Steel gets better every time I watch it. And I remember even Schnepp was not all that thrilled with it the first time, but then when we sat down and watched it again so we could do our commentary, I remember him telling me, holy crap, you're right. Like, now that I've watched it again, this is a really good movie. It's like, yeah, it is. I love this movie. It's gaining appreciation. I think you're onto something. It might have been a little bit ahead of its time. I'm Upset writes, do you think Us and Get Out are in the same universe? I don't. I've heard a lot of people suggest that but once again, it's just because everybody right now is freaking addicted to the stupid idea that everything has to be shared universe. I hate that. And no, I saw no I mean, look, anything's possible. You could say it's in the same universe, but I didn't take it that way watching it myself at any rate. Timothy Platt writes, dude, Gronk retired. Yeah, I was just told that. Crazy. Bums me out as a Patriots fan, but I'm super happy. I think it was the smart move for him. I really do. I think it was the smart move, and I think he's now going to live the rest of his life much healthier than he would have if he played another year or two. Mike Thompson writes, respect for the letter I, for always standing strong despite constantly getting stomped into oblivion by Pixar's desk lamp for 25 years. Boing, boing. Pfft. How iconic is that, by the way? Like that Pixar opening, they've been doing it the same thing for decades with the little lamp coming in, dancing on the level I. And thank you, Mike, for giving respect to the letter I. I feel like a Sesame Street show episode right now. This episode brought to you by the letter I. Okay. Guys, oh, wait a second. No, we still got a few to go here. Okay, where are we at now? Okay. BW Rosa writes, who may get the better film universe, Hasbro or HB? I don't know what HB is, man, so I don't know. Sorry about that. BW Rosa follows up. Thoughts on Dora movie trailer and why Dora? Well, again, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't watched the trailer yet. It's there. And why Dora? Because, again, it's a recognizable IP. There are a lot of kids grew up with it. A lot of parents had their kids in front of it. It's going to make money. I don't know how good or bad the movie will be. I have no idea. I haven't even seen the trailer. But I'll tell you right now, it's going to make money. I 100% guarantee. I'm not saying it's going to be a big blockbuster hit. I'm not saying it, but I'm telling you, this movie is going to make money. I haven't even seen the trailer, and I can tell you it's going to make money. That's why they did it. Apex Caliber writes, did you watch Star Wars fan film by Escape Velocity Content? I don't know. I see a lot of Star Wars fan films, but I often don't know who it is that made it. So I can't tell you if I saw that particular one because I I don't know who Escape Velocity Content is. Dark Irewolf writes, do you think the Defenders reboot that will be happening connect more into the MCU? They are auctioning off the Netflix show items in August. I know they can't be used for a few years due to contract. Well, I don't know that they're going to do a Defenders reboot. Hold on a second. Let me just check something here. I mean, I don't know. So let's be, first of all, do you think the Defenders reboot that will be happening? I don't know that there is a Defenders reboot happening. I don't think there's going to be. Nobody can even use these characters for a couple of years. And I think when they do, it will have to see, like, I personally, what I think, and I could be wrong, I think they're going to reboot Daredevil. We're going to get a totally new Daredevil, and they're going to be rebooting him into the MCU in the movies. I think we're going to get a Daredevil movie. And it's going to be a different actor. It's going to be they're going to reboot the whole thing. And then I don't know if they're going to do Defenders or anything like that. So that's all right there. Now, here's the thing, though. There are reports going around, I think it was Nerdist, that put out this headline, Disney will not be rebooting, or Disney will not, is absolutely rebooting, I should say. Disney is rebooting Defenders and all that kind of stuff, so you're not going to see the old shows. Nerdist ran this headline. I thought, oh, really? So Disney made an announcement. So I watched this video they did, and you know what their big reason for saying Disney is, and why they're running headlines, Disney is absolutely rebooting the Defenders. You're not going to get the same actors. Because they're auctioning off for charity some of the props from the original shows. That doesn't frickin' mean for sure that they're rebooting it. Like, I think they are rebooting it, but not because they're auctioning off some costumes. You don't think they can make 800 more of those in 5 minutes if they need it? Oh, they're auctioning off one of the original Daredevil costumes. That means that Daredevil's done and they're going to have to reboot it. No, it doesn't. That was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen Nerdist do. I like Nerdist. Let's be very clear, I like Nerdist very much. But that was one of the most idiotic things I've ever seen them do. That was so idiotic. They ran a headline telling the audience Disney is definitely rebooting things, which I think they are too. But I'm like, oh, well, why are you saying that? I guess somebody at Disney made a confirmation that all this stuff is being rebooted. Nope. They based that whole headline on the fact that Disney is auctioning off some prop stuff. What? That doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean anything. Anyway, let me re-emphasize again, I love Nerdist. I think Nerdist is great. I am a fan of Nerdist. I totally am. But Spielberg, who I think is the greatest of all time, had a bad day at the office when he made the abysmal The Terminal. This was one of the dumbest things I'd ever seen Nerdist do. Running that headline based on conjecture that, oh, they're auctioning off some stuff from the original shows. Well, then we can tell you, public, this 100% confirms that Disney is going to reboot all this. No, it doesn't. That's idiotic. Now, I agree they are going to do that. I believe they are going to do that. But it's not because they're holding an auction. You know what I'm saying, Dark Eye? It's not because they're holding an auction. That's no. Just no. But yeah, I mean, it is an interesting predicament there is, because they can't do anything for at least a couple of years with these characters. I believe Daredevil has become a valuable character under Netflix, so they're going to do it, but I do believe they're going to reboot it, relaunch it, make it fit in with the MCU and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I think we're going to get, at any rate. But man, how good was that Daredevil show? Anyway. Okay, John Rudapogu writes, how far are we from comic book movie fatigue? We don't get, here's the thing, I don't think we get genre movie fatigue. I think we get bad movie fatigue. When the superhero genre died out a number of years ago, because remember, it pretty much died out for a little while after Batman and Robin. It didn't die out because people got tired of comic book movies. It died out because people got tired of bad comic book movies, which is essentially all we were getting. As long as comic book movies keep coming out, that are good and people are entertained by and the audience enjoys and the audience want to go out and see because it makes them laugh or feel excited or whatever, I just don't ascribe to the fatigue of it. Once the comic book genre starts pumping out from every studio 3 or 4 or 5 bad films in a row, that it's like, oh God, another just kind of like the way we got with another Transformers movie. Once that happens, you're going to see it start to set in. But as long as they keep putting out high quality movies like Captain Marvel, followed by another high quality movie in Shazam, followed in what was probably going to be another high quality movie in Endgame, you're not going to get fatigue because people like going to movies they enjoy. And as long as they keep making that, but once it hits a streak, and it'll come from Marvel, from DC, from anybody else, it'll come. Once we get a bad streak of a bunch of bad movies, it may start then wearing on the audience. But as long as they keep cranking out stuff that everybody's loving, and we're just seeing success go up and up and up and up. I mean, Aquaman, for heaven's sakes, just made $1 billion. In what universe does that happen? It made $1.1 billion. Venom, without Spider-Man, made over $800 million. Captain Marvel, who ain't nobody ever heard of, outside of comic book geeks, Captain Marvel just made $910 million. It's going to join the $1 billion club. And Shazam's going to be a big hit. And I think we're still a ways away. Diamond Fren F writes, did you notice when the Kree left for their first mission, the protective grid force field that was open to leave the planet was the same as Wakanda's? I have seen Captain Marvel 3 times. I don't remember it looking the same. I'm not saying you're wrong, Diamond, but I got to go back and watch that again. I don't think I remember. Look, the idea of a force field surrounding something is something that's in every sci-fi movie. I mean, that's force fields are force fields. I don't particularly remember looking at and thinking, oh my gosh, that's the exact same when I look at the Black Panther one in Wakanda and I look at this one around Kree. That's the exact same one. I don't remember feeling that. You might be right. I'm just saying I don't remember it that way. I will have to keep a closer eye on that. I'm going to go and see Captain Marvel at least one more time in theaters. And when I do, I will pay closer attention to that because you might be onto something interesting there. I don't think that's the case, but you might be onto something interesting. Let me go and take a look. All right. Pardon me. Apex Cowboy writes, I wish old Death and Supernatural never died. Me too, man. That dude was awesome. I always forget the name of the guy. Who played Death in Supernatural? The actor's name was Julian Richings. Oh my God, him playing Death. I'm telling you, that one scene, I can't even remember what season it was, when Death and Dean are sitting in that diner, that 50s style diner. Or it might have been a pizza shop. Anyway, they're sitting in a restaurant and they had that big epic conversation between Death and Dean. One of the best scenes ever done in Supernatural. I totally wish he was still around. I loved him in that show. All right. Diego Mendez writes, hey, John, just rewatched the first Avengers and remember just how great it is. People take it for granted, in my opinion. To me, Diego, it is still the best comic book movie ever made. It's the best comic book movie ever made. Hold on a second. Let me just get this down here. Yeah. Best comic book movie ever made. To me, it is, and a little bit of a spoiler alert, if you go and listen to our episode on Best Movie, Worst Movie podcast, the episode about the MCU, I list Avengers. The first Avengers is the best MCU movie still because I still believe it's the best comic book movie ever made. That movie defined what the modern era of comic book movies are. And it just set everything up and put everything in motion. It all goes back to that movie. In the movies before the first Avengers, like when you had Iron Man, Captain America, the first Avenger, the first Thor, you saw the MCU finding its identity. It was in Avengers that it established what that identity was and really put all the pieces together. And I am in complete agreement with you, Diego. It is to this day, it is a massively underrated film. It wasn't for a long time, but today people forget just how brilliant that first Avengers movie is and how it is the godfather of everything that happens today. It's all because of that movie and what Joss Whedon did. Joss Whedon basically set the tone for what the MCU would become with the Avengers. And again, all due respect for the first Avenger, the Captain America movie, for the first Thor, for the first Iron Man, all due respect to those films. Those are films that was about, the MCU finding its identity. And you see in each of those movies pieces of the puzzle that would ultimately become the MCU. But it is in that Avengers movie that you see it all put together. That you see it all put together and really brought together in one marvelous fruition of a marvelous movie that I still believe is the best comic book movie ever made. And I believe my top three are, I think Avengers is the best. Then in the 2 and 3 spot, in no particular order, is The Dark Knight and Logan. I believe those 3 films are the 3 best ever made in the comic book genre. And everybody will have a different opinion, and that's fine. But I'm with you, Diego. I think people don't remember just how great that movie is and need to go back and watch it again. It is fabulous. Anyway, Mike Hill writes, "Hey, John, I have a suggestion. Can you don one open mic in the week and one at the weekend? That leaves one full day and the weekend to be with Anne." It's difficult to do an open mic during the week because I do the John Campea Show during the week. And so doing an open mic is very, very tricky during the week. It's an excellent suggestion. I'm trying to find different ways to do things. Look, what I'd really love to do, what I would love to do is make enough money on the show that, I pay everybody that works with me. I pay Ray, I pay Jonathan, I pay Ashley, I pay Rob. What I would love to do is to be able to pay, say, a Rob or somebody else, get another staff person, and just have them full time, where I can start sharing the load a little bit more. That would be great. I'm not at that point yet. I am blessed to be at a point that I can support myself. I can pay guys like Jonathan and Ray and Ashley and Rob and let them make a little bit of money for doing and using their talents and all that kind of stuff. I'm blessed to be in a position to do that. It would be awesome if I can get to the point where I can grow everything to the point where I can actually make somebody full time that is somebody like me, more of a film pundit, whether it's a Rob or somebody else, that can then do some shows without me. I mean, that would be a dream of mine, that I can actually have somebody else do shows without me. That would be the goal, and maybe I'll get to that point sometime soon. But right now, it's a little tricky. So it's an interesting suggestion, but it's a little tricky to do an open mic during the week. K Major writes, "Captain Marvel made only $910 million. It's a flop. It's official, guys. It's a total flop. Hasn't hit $1 billion yet. It's a total flop." Let's see. Where are we at here? Neon Gods writes, "Bale gains 450,000 pounds to play Sandworm." Thoughts? I know, right? I mean, Christian Bale is a dude who probably more than any actor ever has totally changed his body to fit different roles. Whether it was in, not Brick. What's the one where he got down to 6 pounds? Why am I forgetting the name of that movie? Anyway, we got super, super skinny, and then he blows up for Dick Cheney and stuff like that, and then he gets in a different shape for different roles. But Christian Bale has recently said he's done. He said he's done. He's not going to do massive body transformations anymore. He said, "I'm going to get back to my regular healthy weight, and that's the roles I'm going to take then," because it's not great on your body to go to such extremes. And we saw him get really thin in The Fighter, and why am I forgetting the name where he got really, really skinny? Anyway, he said he's done. But before doing that, Neon, that's something that Christian Bale would do, right? To be in Dune. All right, Apex Caliber writes, "Over under 60%, Warner Brothers makes Justice League 2 within 5 years." Ooh, under. Right now, they seem to have no interest. So 60% is a high number. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible they could do that, but 60% is too high of a number. I'm going to take the under. I would have put the line closer to a 20. 20%. So within 5 years, I'll take under 60%. Nathan Oswald writes, finally watched Power Rangers 2017. I loved it. Dude, I really liked the Power Rangers movie. And here's one of the reasons why I was especially happy. I love it when there's a movie that I just think is going to be terrible and I end up liking it. I thought even making that movie was a bad idea. As it turns out, maybe it was because it was a total flop. But I thought it was going to be stupid and bad. I liked the new Power Rangers. I did. I enjoyed that movie. I had fun with it. Was it a great movie? Nah. But I had fun with it and I enjoyed it. And that totally surprised me. But it's like everything else. Like everybody told me, John, this movie's going to be $1 billion movie. I'm like, guys, just look at the facts. It's not going to... You're underestimating how big of the fan base is for Power... I'm not. I'm just telling you, look at the numbers. It is not going to be $1 billion film. And it's going to struggle, and it did, and it flopped, and it lost a lot of money. But I enjoyed that movie too, damn it, and I kind of wish they got a sequel. So I want to see what they do next. Edgar Navarro writes, Runaways has been renewed for season 3. I did not hear that officially, but I'm very glad. I was wondering about that, because I don't know how many people watch Runaways. I really like this show. It's different from the comics, but the same enough to still carry the title, The Runaways. I really enjoy this show, and I quite enjoyed season 2. And I'm glad to hear it's season 3. So I'm finding out a whole bunch of things on the show today, guys. Nathan Oswald writes, I love everything about The Terminal. What don't you like? Oh, I don't think it's funny. I don't think there's any heart to it. I thought it was really flat. I thought it felt silly. Hey, look, movies are movies. That means we're all going to have different opinions. And Steven Spielberg is my favorite filmmaker of all time. And I love Tom Hanks. But I just did not like that movie. I thought nothing about it worked. I honestly felt nothing about that movie worked. But there are lots of people who love it. And that's great. That's movies. But yeah, for me, The Terminal just didn't work. Mr. Graham91 writes, since some time has passed now, how long ago did you hear about the Henry Cavill situation? I don't know. I mean, there wasn't like, it wasn't like the Ben Affleck thing where there's a bunch of people who knew there was this growing divide between Warner Brothers and Harry. It was nothing like that. I mean, I found out mostly from the same time everybody else did. For the most part. I mean, I had heard some stuff, but everybody hears lots of stuff. It's no big deal. But it really became tangible when those reports started coming out. So, yeah. And what that all means, we still don't know for sure. I mean, what the Henry Cavill situation is, we still don't really know. It's still a lot of conjecture, and conjecture based on some educated constructs on the facts that we do have. But let's be clear. I mean, still, there's not very many people who legitimately just flat out know what's going on with the Henry Cavill situation. Murray Reich writes, Gronkowski retiring. Yep, a couple of people mentioned that. Whew. Oh, look, it's a little surprising, but not surprising. Again, I think it's the right move for him. He's had a lot of injuries. Retire now. Enjoy your money. Enjoy your success. Enjoy the rest of your life without a body that's completely broken down. Let's see. Mason Hawking writes, would you buy or sell the John Campea Show? I would buy the John Campea Show. 100%. I buy the John Campea Show. It's the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, ladies and gentlemen. All right, guys, that will do it. No more Super Chat questions. We've gotten through all of them. We are now wrapped up for the day. Guys, thank you so much for being here and being a part of this, for submitting not only great topics and questions for us to have fun talking about, but also for supporting the channel the way that you guys do. Thank you so much. You guys are the reason this show and this channel even exists, and I've had a great time. It has been almost a 4-hour show today, so we've gone a little bit long today, but that's fine. This has been fun and enjoyable, and I hope you guys have had a good time as well, talking about movies, sharing different perspectives and ideas. That's what being a film fan is all about. Don't forget, guys, there's another episode of the John Campea Show coming tomorrow, and also we're recording our next episode of Best Movie, Worst Movie. Guys, if you have not done so yet, please go and find Best Movie, Worst Movie on your favorite podcast app of choice, whether it's iTunes or something else. Subscribe to the podcast. Listen to the 2 episodes we've got. Rate them. Comment on them. Do all that kind of stuff. It all helps the show. So thank you very much for helping us out with that as well. And of course, the John Campea Show back again tomorrow. Me, Ashley, and Rob will be here. You know we're going to talk a little bit of Shazam tomorrow. Ashley Whalen actually came with us to go see Shazam, so I'm sure she's going to want to give some thoughts on the movie as well. Make sure you guys come back and join us then. All right, guys. That will do it for today's episode of Open Mic, and that'll do it for this weekend of Open Mics. Thank you again so much for being here. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.